Well, we actually have a few interesting injuries that we need to talk about. First is Xavier Worthy. So Xavier Worthy, I just kind of assumed after week one, yeah, this dude's toast. Hopefully you get him back in 8 weeks. But we actually have Xavier Worthy at practice today. They're saying that there's no way he's going to have surgery, blah, 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 blah. I did see this from Davis Maddock where he said, let me help you with your Xavier Worthy optimism with reports. 5 days between these 2024 headlines. And this was Andy Reid telling reporters that Hollywood Brown's getting close to return, September 9th, 2024. And then we get 5 days later, Hollywood Brown is not expected to play in 2024, obviously. So it is difficult to come through and take these reports too serious regarding Xavier Worthy practicing in terms of like, can we actually trust him anytime soon? Now, other things that we have to talk about, one will be Darnell Mooney gets in a limited practice on Thursday. So there is an outside chance that Darnell Mooney is going to play this week. He was a game time decision last week. And keep in mind, if Darnell Mooney plays and we have Drake London healthy, I would assume that means you have to lower your expectations quite dramatically when it comes to what you're going to get with specifically Kyle Pitts. Then going through, I don't really care about a lot of this. Yeah, Xavier Worthy at practice like we already discussed. So Chris Godwin and Tristan Wirfs potentially playing on Monday. Coach comes out, says, quote unquote, we'll have to see how they come along during the week. They have a lot of tests to pass. So we actually did get word that Chris Godwin's back practicing. Now, we have the report saying that Godwin's probably not going to be coming back until week 5. I think that's probably the situation. But again, if we are going to at least stay on top of this, we can look at what we had with Chris Godwin dodging the PUP and acknowledge the fact that it's not a 100% guarantee that he is going to end up missing. Now, going through and seeing what we have else, we already talked about Chris Godwin. A big thing that I saw pop up on the injury report last week was actually James Cook. And I went out there personally and I actually dropped Dallas Goedert to pick up James Cook, where Dallas Goedert was my backup tight end. I'm sorry, not James Cook. I actually picked up Ray Davis thinking that you may have James Cook missing this week and Ray Davis may be interesting. But we actually now have James Cook today being full go at practice. So James Cook not injured anymore. James Cook should be good to go. So ultimately, we've had a lot of good news, a lot of players back at practice, a lot of players looking healthy. I personally am probably going to go out there and drop Ray Davis now that we've had James Cook practicing in full with the hamstring injury. And now that it looks like he is going to be fine. But let's move this over. And we have a lot of team reviews to get through. We got some questions to get through as well. Obviously, we are answering questions on flogfantasy.com every single day with these live streams, giving away a ton of free questions in the live chat every single day as well. You can see the majority of these questions we're going to answer today will be free questions. So if you wanted to make sure that you can come and get your fantasy football questions answered, all you got to do is subscribe to the channel. We are close to 300,000 subscribers, which is crazy to say out loud. And then also hit the bell next to the subscribe button and YouTube will tell you when we go live. But let's go ahead and let's answer this question from RH. Let me send you over some free questions here, my guys. It says 12-team PPR double flex. Just made a big trade. Lowered my ceiling, but I believe to increase my floor. It was CMC, Hampton, Kittle, and Sutton for Genty, Bucky, JSN, and Njoku. CMC to Genty, slight downgrade. Hampton for Bucky, upgrade. Kittle for JSN, or let's go Sutton to JSN, upgrade. And then we paid Kittle to get it done. And David Njoku, honestly, at this point, maybe an absolute zero. So looking at where our team sits after the trade, we are currently sitting second in the league analyzer. This is a league in which you can start up the 4 wide receivers weekly, and it's a 12-team full PPR format. So I understand that the floor on a team like this actually does matter a decent amount here. But with this view, what we really need to keep in mind is if it's a full PPR format where we can actually start 4 wide receivers weekly, what we should be doing in that case is we should be building around the wide receiver position, and we don't necessarily need to have the elite quarterback. We don't necessarily need to have the elite tight end. Whereas obviously if we are looking at what we would have if it was a 2 wide receiver 1 flex format, there I definitely would be a lot more inclined to potentially go ahead and potentially trade for the elite QB, trade for the elite tight end. So your team obviously took a pretty big hit with the Kittle injury. But honestly, after week 1, I think we should be in a pretty good spot with what we have at running back. And then quarterback, Kyler Murray's fine. Am I going to sit here and tell you that Kyler Murray is a league winner? Of course not. Typically, I would say that you can afford to roster two quarterbacks if Kyler Murray is your QB1. But the fact of the matter is, looking at what we have available to us on the waiver wire, if like the best options are Daniel Jones, Michael Penix, Geno Smith, honestly, I don't necessarily think that you have to pick one of these quarterbacks up. Now, if I was going to make that waiver wire pivot, the guy that I would cut at this point with HN being fully healthy is I'd cut Ollie Gordon in favor of picking up your favorite quarterback out of this list of 4. Now, going over and looking at what we have with the other running backs available on the waiver wire, I would potentially consider picking up DJ Giddens. I think DJ Giddens is a better running back than Ollie Gordon. I think both running backs are effectively just premium handcuff backs as well. So if the starters are healthy in front of them, I'm going to go with the guy that I would rather have. Then looking at receiver, we have Neighbors, JSN as the auto starts. We have Devonta Smith in there for a flex. And then we have Keon Coleman, Quentin Johnston as those waiver wire pieces / guys you took at the end of your draft that look like they could be league winners. And then at tight end, we have Harold Fannin. So crazy to say that you may want to roster 2 Browns tight ends, but I think I would consider dropping Brenton Strange for Harold Fannin myself. Overall, you have a really good team here. I mean, if we were to do anything, I think once you get Chris Godwin back in, then all of a sudden you may have the skill positional depth where you can look to try to trade like Keon Coleman and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt in a 2-for-1 deal to see if we can go and get a tier up at running back, whether that's somebody like James Cook, whether that's somebody like Breece Hall, whoever it may be. I think that would be a very interesting pivot. But for the time being, wide receiver depth matters a considerable amount in your league. We have no Chris Godwin in the short term. So honestly, we're probably going to be sitting with this team as is. Now, if you had an IR slot, I'd highly recommend picking up Brandon Ayuk, but I'm assuming that you would have already done that if you had a spot on the IR. But I don't think there are really any trades that you can make right now after you went out there and you made that trade for Genty. I think Genty and Bucky Irving are both in very good spots going into the future. It looks like Jackson Smith-Njigba is as well. So I think you have a really good team. I think that you are a little compromised in terms of the depth for the short term when we have no Godwin. But based off the recent reports, it does sound like there's an outside chance you actually get Godwin in soon. So I really appreciate you. I really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. And again, if you were to do anything, I think you kind of got to sit on your hands and wait until we get Godwin back. And then at that point, we can upgrade to get a better flex. Or honestly, at that point, maybe you go ahead and you upgrade to get a better tight end. But we got people in the chat telling us that Quinshon Judkins gets in the full practice. Let me pull this up real quick. Do we really have Judkins news? Hayden says, when do the tight end rankings come out? We actually ran out of time to make the tight end rankings for YouTube this week. They are posted on the website now, though. Hogan, I believe we did turn on all the questions about 5 minutes ago on the site. So if you were wanting to get in a question, we turned them on about 5 minutes ago. But we got Quinshon Judkins fully practicing on Thursday. Thank God this saves my best ball teams. And yeah, I need Quinshon Judkins to come in a big time way if possible. But really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way here, RH. And I think you have a great team, and I think it's optimized for your format. Now, let's move this over to Infuro. Says, is this a good trade? I traded away Andrews and Igbuka for Kraft and Metcalf. Nah. Andrews, Kraft, tomato, they don't really matter. Igbuka for Metcalf, I think I would rather have Igbuka at this point. Like, I have Metcalf in the Flock League, and I'd trade Metcalf for him. I felt pretty comfortable giving it Emeka away due to my depth, but not comfortable with Andrews' thoughts on this and also thoughts on the team. So a big thing that I have is I just don't necessarily know if we can call like Tucker Kraft a massive upgrade over Andrews. I think that if you're looking at all the tight ends ranked like tight end 7 through tight end 20, they're all about the same. So I'm not going to say like that Andrews is that much better than Kraft, but I don't know how much better Kraft is than like a waiver wire option. But real quick, let me pull up the screenshots of this team. So as I do that, let's give away some free questions in the chat. Thank you for everybody coming out to this live stream early with us. If you want to get a free question, all you got to do is qualify is drop a like on the live stream. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel and then drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat And we'll pick a couple of y'all to send over free questions to right now. But this is from Infuro that we got to get this going for. Okay, so it just got your team pulled up. And this is an ESPN league, so you should be able to link your ESPN league with the site, my friend. But let's first give a free question or two away. Let's hook up Brazilian Mats. I cannot find you, my friend. I don't know if you use code FLOCK when you signed up to Underdog. You have to have used code, to flockfantasy.com. X Grant, I just sent you over a free start set question. I just found you. And Great Pello, I just found you as well, and I sent you over a free question too. Okay, and now let's pull this team up. But yeah, with this being an ESPN league, definitely link this with the site, and you'll be able to see like a bunch of interesting things with like best waiver wire options, your power rankings, and I'll be able to actually give you some better advice as we go through and look at this. But first things first, let's look at the league settings. It's a league in which you start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. And on top of this, you start 2 quarterbacks. So in a 2 quarterback league, obviously quarterbacks are going to be at a premium. But in a league in which you can only start 2 wide receivers in a flex, and you start an additional quarterback is going to make up an incredibly high percentage of your starting lineup output weekly. So for me, I think you are highly, highly, highly incentivized to go out there and upgrade over quarterback if we can. Like for us right now to be sitting with Justin Fields and CJ Stroud as our 2 QBs, this would be my number 1 priority and my number 1 thing to try to upgrade with your team. Now, looking at what we have at running back, we have Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams, Chuba Hubbard. So we have 3 down RBs. Down on the bench, we have Austin Eckler, and that's about it. And we also have Cam Ward at quarterback as well. I know you were mentioning that we traded away Igbuka to get Metcalf, and he was kind of going to be on our bench regardless. We have Malik Neighbors, Puka Nacua at wide receiver. So we have 2 locked and loaded wide receiver ones. Going down to the bench, we have Zay Flowers, Matthew Golden, and DK Metcalf as quality depth pieces. And then going over to tight ends, I mean, we have Tucker Kraft, who's good, not great. There are only like 4 tight ends in fantasy football you can be excited about at this point, in my opinion. And I don't think Tucker Kraft is in that list of 4. So as I look at this for you, I would say that if this was my team, my number 1 priority personally would be to find a way that we could go out there and upgrade quarterback. I think you have plenty of depth skill positionally. I think if you could go through and if you could try to leverage some of the wide receiver value that you have with like CJ Stroud to go get an elite quarterback, I think that would be the move for this team. Because again, like if you were to go through and if you were to trade like Malik Neighbors and CJ Stroud for Jaden Daniels or Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, and obviously this is a super flex league. I'll never tell somebody else to trade Malik Neighbors for one of those 4 quarterbacks. But if you could package Neighbors and CJ Stroud and go get like, say, Lamar Jackson, and then you move DK Metcalf into your starting lineup, the points per game drop off that you're going to have from Lamar to Stroud would be larger than from Neighbors to DK. So based off the skill positional depth that you have, if Chuba Hubbard is your 3rd running back, of like Zay Flowers, Matthew Golden, DK Metcalf all being on your bench, my number 1 priority with this team is how do we go out there and how do we trade for an elite QB? But I think that's really all we have for you. Let me send you over some free questions if we haven't already, just so you can follow up with anything that you want on this. And I'll be super happy to try to help you out any way that I can, my friend. Now, let's move this over to our next question. This is going to be, I hate injuries. It says, hey, Mason, this is a follow-up from yesterday's question. Again, I took your advice and dropped Stafford for JJ, but after Monday night, I don't know what to do about TJ Hawkinson. I know you have him too. I'm thinking about dropping Trey Benson for a potential backup tight end. What do you think? Thanks, Ethan. My guy, thank you. And yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat. Let me send you over some free questions real quick. With TJ Hawkinson. I have TJ Hawkinson as well. I don't necessarily feel great about it. If we were looking at the waiver wire tight end specifically in your league, You have Hunter Henry, you have Harold Fannin, you have Brenton Strange, you have Zach Ertz. So depending on your league mates, depending on the depth of your format, I would be completely fine if you were to go through and if you were to want to roster a second tight end here. If you were want to say like, oh yeah, let me pick up Hunter Henry for sure. My hesitation with it is like, if you're having to drop Trey Benson could legitimately turn into a league-winning running back this week if you were to get a James Conner injury. And if you were to drop Trey Benson and pick up Hunter Henry to potentially one day start over TJ Hawkinson, what's the true ceiling for Hunter Henry? What's the true ceiling for Harold Fannin? Can they really separate and turn into like Brock Bowers from last year where they're head and shoulders above all the replacement level tight ends? I would say probably not, and I'm not starting Henry or Fannin over TJ Hawkinson this week. So for me, I wouldn't want to roster a second tight end here. Like, again, I already have TJ Hawkinson, and I actually dropped Dallas Goedert to pick up Ray Davis when we thought James Cook was at risk with the hamstring injury. Now, looking at what we have at quarterback, we have Dak Prescott and JJ McCarthy, so we are effectively streaming the position. Because looking at what we have on the waiver wire, I mean, there are some quarterbacks that you could consider over Dak or McCarthy depending on the week. So with this in mind, I would say more likely than not, what we're going to look to do is we're going to look to upgrade quarterback if we can. Now, the question is, how do we go about that? Because we have a very good team, right? We are second in the league analyzer. We have the second most running back value. We have the combination of Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard, and then our RB 4, 5, and 6 is Jordan Mason, Dylan Sampson, Trey Benson. And then going over to receiver, you have CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, Calvin Ridley, Jacoby Myers, Josh Downs. So looking at what we have on the bench, you have like, say, Calvin Ridley, Jacoby Myers, Josh Downs, Jordan Mason, Dylan Sampson, Trey Benson all on the bench. So you should have some expendable value down here at the very bottom. Now, if we are ever trading for an elite quarterback, I really just want to be getting a top 4 name. I want to get Hurts. I want to get Daniels. I want to get Lamar. I want to get Allen. If that is a possibility, I'm all about it, and I'm going to go aggressively for them. Now, with that being said, as we look at the expendable pieces that we have on our team, there are really only 2 guys that I think would fit the mold that would bring us anywhere close to that range. Because I'm not wanting to sell Bucky. I'm not wanting to sell Chase Brown. We're not selling CeeDee Lamb. Those are our 3 untouchable assets. I think Chuba Hubbard and Devontae Adams would be the 2 names that you could potentially throw out there and see if we get an elite level quarterback. And in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league where we have this kind of skill positional depth, that is going to be something I'm looking to do. So if you could try to sell Chuba Hubbard and Dak Prescott and get Jalen Hurts, we get Jaden Daniels, assuming this is a 4-point passing touchdown format. Honestly, even if it's a 6-point passing touchdown league, I'd be good with it. If it's a 6-point passing touchdown league, I think you add Joe Burrow to that list. And if they don't want Chuba Hubbard, it's just going to come down to if they would rather have a running back or a wide receiver, we would be willing to sell Devontae Adams at that price point. And then if you were to make that 2-for-1 deal, that would actually open up some roster flexibility for you. Where say you were able to sell Chuba Hubbard and Dak Prescott and you were able to go get Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Lamar, or there's no way in hell you get Allen, but you can try. Then what that is going to allow you to do is 1, it's going to open up a roster spot immediately, a running back. And then 2, it's going to allow you to drop the second quarterback with JJ McCarthy. So you'll effectively have 2 roster spots open and you can go out there and pick up Caleb Johnson. And then you can go ahead and you can pick up Hunter Henry for free if you're worried about TJ Hawkinson. So really the only thing that I would be interested in doing here, again, would be to try to make a play for an elite quarterback because it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league where we have plenty of depth. If you're really not able to get yourself to one of those QBs, I'd be quick to see if we could sell like Devontae Adams and Hawkinson or Chuba Hubbard and Hawkinson and find a way over to McBride, but that's going to be much easier said than done. I think we'll send that offer out as well, but we're probably less likely to get that deal done than Jalen Hurts, but we're going to try either way. And then one other thing that I would consider as well, I really like Trey Benson, but I would consider dropping Trey Benson for Caleb Johnson, but I don't think you need to roster the second tight end here regardless. But I really appreciate you, my friend. Really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And let me try to fix this camera, point it down a little bit more. There we go. It's because we relax into this live stream. I want to lay back. But yeah, I sent you over some free questions as well, just in case you had anything else that you wanted to follow up on. Now, let's move this over to Smokin Beef. Says, looking to leverage running back with the ET news. Hard to say. Need some help on wide receiver for sure. So, we are the number one team in the League Analyzer. And this is very similar to me in the League Analyzer, right? Let me go ahead and let me pull up my team with the dashboard. I'm number one in the League Analyzer as well. And I think a big reason for it for probably both of our teams is we both have Travis Etienne. So Travis Etienne arguably is the biggest riser in value in fantasy football over the past 7 days or so. So if you do get that pop from Etienne, where like Etienne was on my bench as well, so I have some expendable running back value, I think you're completely okay to go through and you're completely okay to try to sell one of the other running backs. You did get the positive bump with Judkins as well. So this is a great team. I think your team's better than mine, to be honest. I would rather have your roster. But anyway, this is going to be a league where you only start 2 wide receivers and a flex, right? So having an elite quarterback, having an elite tight end is going to be a pretty big deal for us. We have Jalen Hurts, and when we are sitting with Hurts, I would say that we are really okay to go through and only roster one quarterback. But if I were to tell you to drop JJ McCarthy, it's maybe going to be a little bit tough because we go ahead and we look at what we have with the waiver wire options. Like DJ Giddens, in my opinion, would be the highest upside running back that you have. Wide receiver, Luther Burden. Luther Burden did absolutely nothing. So while in general, I don't think you need a roster 2 quarterbacks if you have Jalen Hurts, I understand where you're coming from, where you're like, man, there's nothing really interesting on the waiver wire, so let me just have to, which is completely fine. Now, going over and looking at what we have at running back, we have Jahmyr Gibbs, Devon Achane, Travis Etienne. So we have three down backs that we can just hammer every week. So we are in a really good spot at running back. We have Quinshon Judkins getting into full practice today. We have Braylon Allen as the premium handcuff. And then going over to receiver, your team is almost identical to mine. This is hilarious. You very similar to my team. You don't have a true alpha wide receiver. You just have a bunch of these depth pieces. So my move would be is I would try to approach the team with the worst running back room in the league, which we can do this by sorting based off running back value here. So we can go down. This team has the worst running back room in the league. They have Javonte RB1, Montgomery RB2, Dobbins RB3. I would love to see if we can send them a running back to get an upgrade. But the issue is this team is so bad that there's no trade that we can make with them. So like if I'm going to look at like a team like this, it's, oh, okay, I'd like to send you a running back like Achane to see if we can get an elite receiver. I'd like to see you a running back like Travis Etienne to get to that top end wide receiver. But who the hell did this team draft? Round 1, it looks like they took Tyreek Hill. Round 2, did they draft David Montgomery? Like, where is this team's roster? This team has Kenneth Walker getting nuked. Maybe this team's interested in trading for a running back, but also this team looks like they also have no idea what the hell they're doing. I mean, they're sitting with 4 quarterbacks on their team. But if you wanted to try to go through and if you wanted to try to send them a running back like, say, Devon Achane, if you wanted to send Achane and any of our wide receivers like Achane and Terry to try to get to Justin Jefferson, I think that'd be a very compelling move where we could use with, like, we don't necessarily need the Achane production. Going over to this next team, their RB2, RB3 is going to be RJ Harvey and Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, which there is about to be a video uploaded on the Flock League YouTube channel where you will see that I recently traded away Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt. And when I say recently, I mean last night. But they also have the elite receivers. They have Malik Neighbors. So this could be another interesting case if you wanted to try to sell like Achane and Deebo Samuel to try to get 2 Neighbors. This team has Rashad White as their running back 3. If they wanted a running back depth piece, we could try to send them the combination of like Travis Etienne and DK Metcalf to get to Brian Thomas. Sydney says, why hop off the Bill train? You'll see the price point that I got in the Flock League video. I think it's a very reasonable price for me. But overall, I mean, you have a phenomenal team, right? I mean, you're currently sitting here, the number 1 spot in the league analyzer. I agree that you have additional running back value that if you wanted to go through and if you wanted to trade for the elite wide receiver, you can. But I'm not going to like force anything because, again, you have the best team in the league and it's not even that far off, to be honest. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And let me just confirm that we sent you over. And yeah, we sent you over some of those free questions as well. So if you have anything that you want to follow up with me here, I'd be super happy to take a look at it for you. Brian says, how do you get free team reviews? So the free team review vouchers come with the annual Mother Flocker subscription. So if you're an annual Mother Flocker and you use code FLOCK, you should have a free team review voucher on your account. Now, Jay Mahedi says, need to trade for a running back or two. Thinking about Garrett in a piece for Amari and Hampton. I love that idea. Love it. What other trades should we go for? So our team name here is Scary Terry. We are currently 5th in the league analyzer. We are 11th at running back. So yeah, I agree that we probably are going to need to look for a running back or two. But the thing that we can say with this league, at least with these league settings, will be if you're looking at what we have specifically regarding the ability to start 4 wide receivers weekly, you don't need to go out there and you don't need to like panic trade for an RB, because realistically you have Jefferson, Ladd, Wilson, Terry all in your lineup. Like Keon Coleman's the only piece that you have on your bench. So like if we were to trade like Garrett Wilson and Aaron Jones and get Amari and Hampton, then yeah, I guess that means Keon Coleman slides into a flex spot for us, which we can probably be pretty excited about, and we can unlock that value on our roster. But ultimately, we're not really in a situation in which like we are throwing great wide receivers on our bench, because you can start up to 4 of them weekly. Now, quarterback, I don't want to say streaming, but we're kind of playing the matchups here, right? We have Justin Fields and Dak Prescott. I mean, if we were looking at what we would possibly do with this in the short term, I think you probably leave this as is. But in the long term, if we get another week where Caleb Williams goes out there and Caleb Williams has great rushing upside, I wouldn't fault you if you wanted to move off of Dak Prescott for Caleb. But we're not necessarily needing to worry about that right now. Then going over and looking at what we have at running back, we have Achane, who I actually think is going to be in a pretty big bounce back spot. I have no interest in Kenneth Gainwell at all. Like, for the love of God, drop Kenneth Gainwell. There's no reason to have him on your team, even if Jaylen Warren were to get injured. Then in that case, Caleb Johnson probably splits the backfield with Gainwell anyway. So the very best case scenario, in my opinion, Gainwell is going to be a committee running back no matter what. So if I'm looking at who I'd rather pick up, I think the premium handcuff running backs like Tank Bigsby, Tyler Algier, DJ Giddens, like if one of the starters were to go down in front of them, I think you're in a spot where they actually could be weekly starters for you. Then going over to wide receiver, obviously no waiver wire pivots, but it's a league where we can start 4 wide receivers. So I like us having the wide receiver depth, and I don't necessarily think that you need to go through and you need to sell one of these guys. And then we have one of the very few tight ends that looks reliable with Tyler Warren at this point. So I think you're in a relatively decent situation. Like, I understand that, and I agree with you. I think if you could sell a wide receiver like Garrett Wilson with Aaron Jones and go get Kyron Williams, go get Amari and Hampton. Let me pull up the exact running back tiers that I'd be looking at if I were you. So if you were to try to make that deal where we're selling Garrett Wilson and Aaron Jones, the running backs that I'd be willing to trade them for would be any running back that's ranked 16 or higher for me. That's Breece Hall, Kamara, James Cook, Amari and Hampton, Kyron Williams. And then obviously if you could get to the top 10 guys like Jacobs, Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor, Ashton Jeanty, CMC, you would as well. But I think that's going to be easier said than done. But overall, I'm actually more impressed by the team that after we pulled it up and took a real look at it, just given the fact that we can start 4 of those receivers. Like, we can actually see as well that the team is currently sitting at 1-0. But I think that's all I got for you. I really appreciate you, and I really hope that I was able to help you out in some way here. Now, this office says, how do we get a team review question in, or is it too late? So I currently have the team review questions turned off on the website. However, I think that we should be able to turn them on. I specifically started the live stream super, super early, so we're going to live stream for over 4 hours answering these questions today. So once I get through these team reviews, I will go ahead and turn them on on the site. And ODog, my friend, the worst way you could ever get your question answered is by copying and pasting it in the chat over and over again. You're way more likely to get banned from the chat than actually get an answer if you do that. Now, Trav Snow says, already traded Lamar, Judy, Tet for Drake, Purdy, and Sticky Ricky. So Lamar to Drake London, lateral move for me. Tet for Sticky Ricky, downgrade, and Judy for Purdy, downgrade. So honestly, I'm not a big fan of it. Feel like I have the firepower now at receiver, and the Niners' favorable schedule should mitigate the Lamar loss. The thing is, the Purdy injury just absolutely kills you with the turf toe. Looking at what we have here, I actually am going to have to pull up your team name on the other screen. Sometimes this does it. So as I do this to stall, drop your, well, let's give away some free questions in the chat. So if you want to win a free question, all you got to do to qualify is 1, hit the like button. 2, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. And then 3, drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chats. And then we'll go ahead and pick a couple of y'all to send out some free questions to. So this is for Trav Snow. This is Lord John. I should have remembered this, my guy. I know you've sent in 1,000 questions. How the hell did I not? And you already messaged me, effing Purdy injury. Yeah, the Purdy injury kind of kills this. That's why I was saying I would rather have the Lamar side of it. But so this is going to be the team here. We're in a league in which we can start 4 wide receivers weekly. So the wide receiver depth matters. So we got Cat in the Frats. Cat in the Frat. Just found you on the site and just sent you over a free question. Sent you over a free start sit. NFL Gamecock just sent you, or let me see if I can find you and then I'll send you something. Found you and just sent you over a free question as well. Thank y'all both for hanging out with us in the live stream. Okay. And yeah, we'll give away a bunch of free questions in the stream today because we're going to be streaming for a super long time. But anyway, this is a league in which we can start 4 wide receivers weekly. So for me, I definitely want to be building around the wide receiver position if we can. Looking at what we have at quarterback, we are effectively just going to be streaming the quarterback position over the next few weeks with Brock Purdy out. In terms of streaming options this week, I understand that Lawrence, he does not look good. Lawrence absolutely killed Brian Thomas last week, missed some very easy throws, yada, yada, yada. But realistically, I think given the matchups that we have, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars project to play in the game that has the highest over-under of any game this week. So for me, I would drop Michael Penix and I would stream Lawrence this week instead. Then going over and looking at what we have at running back, we are currently sitting with Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson as our top 2 names. It looks like Quinshon Judkins gets into full practice. So Quinshon Judkins realistically may actually be viable for us here, which is good news. We have Braylon Allen as the premium handcuff. Going over to receiver, we have London, Ladd, Ricky, Rome. And then again, because this is a league in which you can start 4 wide receivers weekly, I would not want to trade away one of these wide receivers. I want to be holding on to these receivers because I want to be able to go through and I want to be able to feel comfortable about my flex plays, which we're just simply not going to do. I feel comfortable if we have like Quinshon Judkins in there right now. So I think you hold on to the wide receivers for sure. We get some positive news in regards to Drake London's ability this week. For me, if we're looking at Isaac Tesla, I understand that Isaac Tesla got you. He's been great every single time he's been on the field, right? And also, I actually think that the Lions offense is going to be much better, and we're going to be in a spot for the Lions to bounce back. But still at the same time, with the limited playing time that he's getting and the fact that at the very best, he's like the 5th option in the Lions offense, Like, this isn't a party situation, right? I would be very surprised if Isaac Tesla jumped Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, and Jahmyr Gibbs in the pecking order. So I personally would go ahead and I would drop Isaac Tesla in favor of Christian Kirk and hope that we get Kirk back in a few weeks. And then going over to tight end, I think we're kind of fine with it as is. So overall, not a massive fan of the trade. I don't know if we would have been if you didn't have the Purdy injury, but honestly, I wouldn't have been that excited to start Purdy anyway over the next few weeks because you're not going to have Kittle. And then when we're looking at what we can do from here, I think it puts us in a little bit of a compromising spot given these league settings. I don't necessarily know if you can dear God. I don't know if you can afford to sell one of the receivers. I think you got to leave this team as is. And then we are just all in on the Atlanta Falcons offense, clearly. But I still would play Lawrence over Penix this week. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way. But Hammer Fight says, considering upgrading from Flocker to Mother Flocker, but after already paying the annual sub for Flocker, I'm trying to figure out how much it would charge me. It would charge you whatever the difference is. So I think it would charge you $14. I think the difference between an annual Flocker and an annual Mother Flocker is $14. And if you use code FLOCK, really the only difference that there would be between the two is, one, you'd be a higher priority to get the merch, which I actually have a quick side note for everybody in here. I officially just spent more money than I've ever spent in my entire life. I wired a hat company a total of $20,000 this morning. So we just ordered a ridiculous amount of hats. A lot of these, a lot of different designs. We should have about 2,500 hats to ship out in a couple weeks. And what we're going to do is we're just going to give them away for free to the members on the site. It will be a Google form posted on flockfantasy.com. You'll essentially just fill that out with your email address that you have on flockfantasy.com. That way we can look you up and confirm your subscription status. And then you'll put in your address where you want the hat to be shipped to. And then you'll like put your preference of hats. So we've done this for years now, but we've never had this many people on the site. So we've never had to order. It's a good problem to have, right? Like I was able to spend the most money I've ever spent because we've made the most we've ever made. But usually it's just a much smaller operation than what we are doing this year. So, yeah, we'll be giving out a ton of free hats. So anyway, the difference between Flocker, Mother Flocker, one, you'll be at a higher priority to receive a hat. And two, you will get the free vouchers for a start set, trade, and roster review from me if you use code FLOCK. But yeah, it is, I will say it is nerve-wracking to send that much money because I'm like, the reason I felt comfortable doing it is because we've already ordered 400 hats from this person. That's why we have this. But it seems like every single time I've dealt with anybody merch related, there's always been problems, which in the past, if it's like, oh, I bought $2,000 to $3,000 of hats, it's like if there are problems, it's annoying, but it's not the end of the world. This, if we don't get these hats, it's going to be bad. But let's move this over. Toppo says, dropped Quinn for Justin Fields. And Quinn Ewers? What Quinn would you have dropped? Am I missing something? But any suggestions on maybe getting a better flex or running back 2 or no changes? First thing that I need to point out for your team is you are number 1 in the league analyzer, and it's not even remotely close. You have CeeDee Lamb, Bucky Irving, Trey McBride, Jackson Smith-Njigba, DeAndre Swift, Marvin Harrison, all on the same roster. I know, I didn't know y'all couldn't see the waiver. Okay. Thank you for whoever told me that. Let me pull the waiver wire in. The second thing that I want to say is the waiver wire and it looks like Brock Bowers did not practice, RIP Bowers. But it looks like the second thing is the waiver wire in your league is absolutely loaded. You currently have Devonta Smith sitting out there on the waiver wire. So if we can, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to drop Quinshon Judkins and I'm going to pick up Devonta Smith. And then what I'm also going to try to do today is if we have wide receivers out there on the waiver wire, like Devonta Smith, Chris Godwin, Jordan Addison, like these very exciting wide receivers, is you need to go through and you need to look to sell one of the top end wide receivers that we have for an elite quarterback. Because it's a league in which you can only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, so the depth doesn't matter, and the depth is absolutely free to come by. Quarterback's going to make up a very high percentage in your starting lineup. So obviously, I'm very excited about Jackson Smith and Jigba. I have JSN ranked pretty aggressively. But if you could go through and if you could trade JSN and Bo Nix and get to Lamar Jackson, if you could trade JSN and Bo Nix and get to Josh Allen, we're going for it. If you could trade Marvin Harrison and Bo Nix and get to Jalen Hurts, if you could trade Marvin Harrison and Bo Nix and get to Jaden Daniels, we're going for it. And I wouldn't even stop there. I'd be interested in trying to make running back deals to get to a top tier. Like if we're looking at my running back rankings on the site right now, let me go ahead and pull these up and let's see where we can upgrade from Brees, because I do think that we're going to see some regression with this New York Jets offense. So if we're looking at where Brees is ranked, you have Brees at about RB16 for me. I think if you could go through and if you could try to sell like one of the receivers such as Ricky Pearsall, if you could send Ricky Pearsall and Brees Hall or Rome Odunze and Brees Hall and get any running back inside tier A, whether that's CMC, Genty, Taylor, Bucky, Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs, or Devon Achane, I would be very interested in that as well, because the opportunity cost of us going through and selling like Sticky Ricky is effectively nothing if you're telling me we can just pick up Chris Godwin for free off waivers. So no doubt about it, you have the best team in the league. I think we want to today drop Quinshon Judkins, pick up Devonta Smith. I think we also want to go through and try to sell like JSN and Bo Nix for one of the true elite quarterbacks, or Marvin Harrison and Bo Nix for one of those tier 2 guys. And then also, I wouldn't even stop there. I'd also try to sell like Ricky Pearsall and Brees Hall to go get up to a tier A RB. But I think that's all I got for you. I wish I had more for you, but again, you have the best team in the league. I think you're in a really good spot, and I think you should be able to abuse your league settings there, to be honest. Now, I'm Josh23, says, I have a bunch of wide receivers in the same tier, and I know that tight end's going to be a problem. Is there any way that you can help? Okay. So we are Heinz McJuggets. We are second in the league analyzer, and it's a 14-team format where we can only start 2 receivers and 1 flex. So I would say in general, I actually like the idea of punting tight end in a 14-team league, because the waiver wire option should be better at tight end than it would be in other positions. Now, with that being said, looks like the waiver wire options are pretty slim at the moment. We have Isaiah Likely out there. Now, there are some very, very easy moves that we could make when it comes to waiver wire pivots, because we look at this. You do have Jaden Reed out there. The first thing that I'm doing with this team is I'm dropping Alec Ayomanor and I'm picking up Jaden Reed. And the second thing that I'm going to do with this team is I think you do need to pick up Isaiah Likely to give yourself some hope at tight end in the long term. Because we go through and we look at this roster. I mean, Mike Gesicki, our current tight end, where Noah Fant's getting involved right out the gate here in Cincinnati. So I don't know how much we can realistically trust Gesicki going into the future, even if the offense is going to improve. So I would like to pick up Isaiah Likely here for the long term. So I would drop Alec. I would pick up Reed. I would drop Algier or Bigsby. And I would pick up Isaiah Likely. And then from there, like, I'm not too worried about what we have at running back or receiver. Obviously, we're extremely strong. I would like to upgrade quarterback if we could. The issue is it's going to be difficult to find a trade like that. We're going to have to see what teams desperately need help at wide receivers. So let's sort from best to worst receivers. This team, their wide receiver 1 is Jacoby Myers. So if their wide receiver 1 is Myers, maybe there's a world in which we can try to send them, say like Ricky Pearsall, Devonta Smith, Calvin Ridley, one of those receivers, and Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, and get up to Kamara or James Cook. This team, their wide receiver one is McLaurin. Then they go Pickens, Rome. They have Kenneth Gainwell and Christian Kirk. If you wanted to try to pivot from like Ricky Pearsall to Kenneth Gainwell and hope that to Kenneth Walker. Why do I keep saying Gainwell? And hope that Walker was just limited week 1 with the foot. I think you can make that pivot as well. This team, their wide receiver 3 at the moment is Kayshon Boutte. If we wanted to try to send them like Khalil Shakir and Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt to Trevion Henderson, or hell, even Ricky Pearsall and Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, or Ricky Pearsall and Dylan Sampson to Trevion Henderson, I'd send that offer out there as well. Is I think you can afford to sell the wide receiver depth and try to go out there and get an upgrade for the flex. And that would open up a roster spot for us as well, where we could go through and we could pick up a quarterback like Cam Ward or Tua. Because if it's a 14-team format where the majority of our league mates are actually rostering 2 QBs, it is going to make it where the quarterback depth is a little bit tough to come by. And it's not like us sitting here with Lawrence puts us in a position where no matter what, we are going to feel comfortable at quarterback. So I would go through and I'd try to make that upgrade for the flex spot, open up a roster spot that way. But I would also probably cut Bigsby and Alec Eomanor, and I'd pick up the combination of Jaden Reed and Isaiah Likely with your team and these settings. But let me send you over some free questions real quick, just in case you have anything else that you wanted to follow up with. And I'm going to hit next question. Let's pivot over and let's answer some of the non-team reviews. We're going to get to the start sit, the trade, and the super messages. And here's what I'm going to do as well. We're going to be live streaming all the way until kickoff. So we're going to be live for like another 3 hours. So we should be able to answer a ton of questions. We should be able to give away a bunch of free questions as well. But I'm going to turn on team reviews right now. I'll have team reviews on for like 10 to 15 minutes if anybody wanted to buy one. I'm going to have them on for 10 to 15, then I'll turn them off. And with that in mind as well, I cannot guarantee that if you get a team review right now that it will be done in this live stream. I can guarantee that at the very latest it will be done in tomorrow night's live stream, and possibly it would be done in this one, depending on how many questions we get for start, sit, and trade. But also, before we get to White Mamba's question, let's give away some free questions in the chat. So we give away a ton of free questions every single live stream. All you got to do to qualify for the free questions is on the live stream, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. So, and honestly, to chat, you have to be subscribed anyway. So realistically, just hit the like, subscribe, and there's a good shot you get a couple free questions. Like you can see on the left-hand side here, the majority of the questions that we're going to be answering in this live stream will be free. Okay, let's go. Final Fear 55. See if I can find you on the site. See if I can send you over something. Final Fear just found you and just sent you over that free start sit. Really appreciate you. Let's go Nava 7. Just found you. Just sent you over that free start sit as well. Thank you for hanging out with us in the stream. And we always got Phil out here. Phil, let me send you over something. Really appreciate you as always. Phil just found you and just sent you over that free start set. Thank you for always hanging out with us in the stream, my guy. Okay. Now, White Mamba traded Amari and Hampton, Justin Jefferson for Bijan and Pearsall. I'm going to go with Jefferson and Hampton. I was definitely getting really, really nervous of what we had with Jefferson in the first half of the Bears game, but McCarthy showed some signs of life later. And actually, we need to go up here. Ivan with this next one. Running back between Judkins, Javonte, Aaron Jones, Trey Benson. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to play Javonte. Massive spread on the game. They should be able to run the ball. Wide receiver 2, I'm going to go Tet over J-Mo and Hunter. For the flex, I guess David Njoku, tight end David Njoku. And then for the flex, we're going to go J-Mo, expecting a pretty big Lions bounce back. Now, C. Buffett says, treat Pacheco as James Conner. Got in trade for Pacheco. I don't know. Okay, you're saying treat Pacheco as James Conner. Okay, so as if we can, like, if I put in Pacheco here, we're starting James Conner. If that's the case, you go ahead and you start James Conner. Phenomenal matchup going up against the Panthers. Cards are really heavy favorites. They should be able to run the ball like crazy. Brady trading Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, Jerry Jeudy for Terry McLaurin. Okay. So here with this, Nick Chubb is effectively nothing for me. Our running back room after this would be Gibbs, Hampton, JCM. And then we would get that upgrade at wide receiver. So I have Jerry Jeudy and Nick Chubb in the Flock League. I would trade them in a heartbeat for Terry. Adding Joe Mixon, the only way you do this is if you think Mixon's done. If you think that Mixon's done here and he's effectively a zero, sure, go get Terry. But if you have faith in Mixon coming back in, you'll probably lose this deal. But honestly, kind of a fair trade and going to be up to you there. Now, B-Nell has a tight end consideration between Loveland and Njoku. I'm going to go Njoku, and I absolutely hate it. I don't want to play either guy. And then for the flex, we'll go ahead and we will play Buka over Ridley, Godwin, and, I mean, obviously Godwin. Ridley, Golden, Sharp, and Walker. Now, let's move this over to Hogan. Trading Aaron Jones, Hollywood Brown, Brian Thomas for Josh Jacobs, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. Brian Thomas for Jacobs, give me Jacobs. Aaron Jones for Flowers, give me Flowers. Hollywood Brown's not going to bridge the gap, especially as we have Worthy looking like he may not miss that much time, so we'll make that deal. Now, Hogan trading Chuba, Ray Davis, Amon-Ra St. Brown for Derrick Henry and DJ Moore. Give me Derrick Henry over Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Moore. Give me Chuba Hubbard over DJ Moore. Ray Davis, not that big of a piece in this. Posts full practice for James Cook. So we'll go ahead and we will take Derrick Henry here. Now, Jess, wide receiver. Give me a Buka over Flowers. And then for the flex, we're going to end up Flowers, Hollywood's close. We'll go Hunter Henry over Andrews. I actually did recently have to move up Hollywood in our rankings. Let me pull up where I have them ranked. Okay. Wide receiver. And this is the new view of the rankings page. I don't know if y'all have seen this. Let's go week 2. Where do we move Hollywood? We have Hollywood 27. We have Flowers 23. I guess we have Terry that we're considering as well. We have Terry 25. And then Ridley 33. So yeah, I think in that case, we just go ahead and we leave it how we filled it out the first time. I just wanted to triple check. As I know after seeing the after seeing the projections that you had for Hollywood this week, I definitely got more excited about him. Now, Johnny Hoob with our next one. For the flex, we have like Golden or Ramadre. Matthew Golden, or I guess you can go Kayshon Boutte, but I'm going to go with Matthew Golden. Am I excited about it? No, he ran 13 routes last week. He didn't play as many snaps as I was looking forward to. But this should be a higher scoring game environment. Second NFL game ever. I think he's in a better offense, and I think he's a better player. Now, GT with our next one. We're going to go Pollard, Jacobs as auto starts. Wide receiver, Jefferson, Tyreek. And then for the flex, Igbuka. Like, if you have Tyreek this week, I understand the Dolphins looked horrendous. But I think you actually end up having to play Tyreek. The matchup's too good. Blackfire, Purdy's not going to play. You're going to have to play Bo Nix. And then for the flex spot, I would go Dylan Sampson if Judkins doesn't play. If Judkins does play, I'd pivot over to Josh Downs. Now, Bobby Snipes, trading Igbuka and Loveland for Henderson and Kincaid. Henderson over Igbuka long-term for me. Kincaid, Loveland, up to you. I would rather have Henderson. And I know people are going to absolutely hate me for saying that. I know Igbuka, great player, great week one. But ultimately, you do have Godwin back at practice. It's not like Godwin's going to be out for the entire season. While at the same time, you're in a situation in which Igbuka did only have 6 targets last week. Here for Buddy, Taylor and Brees are auto starts. Tight end, I would go Evan Ingram if he plays over Harold Phantom, but he may not play. And then for the flex, it's going to be down between, I'm not playing Ja'Cory Crossy-Merritt here. It's going to be down between Amari and Hampton and Igbuka. Let me pull up my flex ranks. I currently have Igbuka at 30. And I have Hampton at 23 inside the same tier. People are going to hate this, but I'm going to go with Hampton. Chargers project to score way more points than Tampa this week. And Najee Harris only had 1 touch last week. Now, King Cobra with our next question here. Come on. Do you want to load for me? I think I may have to sign in on the site real quick. And as I do this, I will stall by asking y'all to give me your username so I can send y'all some free questions. All I got to do is qualify for a free question is hit the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. And I would recommend if you wanted to get in some questions, you kind of got to be here for the first hour or 2 of the live stream we're doing every day. So I would recommend hitting the bell next to the subscribe button if you wanted to make sure that you knew when we actually went live. And let me pull up the users page on the other screen so I can search y'all. Okay, we got Drew Brew 19. Let me send you over a little something. Just found you, my guy, and just sent you over a free start sit. Nico Nix just found you and just sent you over a free start sit as well. And let me pull this back over to the other screen. And we'll give away a ton of free questions. We're going to be streaming all the way until kickoff. So we got a lot of time to give out free questions. But buddy, we already answered this one here for you. We're going to be going with Brees, Taylor, running back, tight end Ingram if he plays, and then flex Hampton over Igbuka, even though most people would play Igbuka. Now, King Cobra here for the flex. We're choosing between Waddle, Pittman, Olave, and Tracy. I think you go with Tracy and get the guaranteed touches. I don't know if that'll be the case all year, though. I think eventually Cam Scatterby will expand his role. Now, G-Body here for the flex. We have Travis Etienne as an absolute auto start, 3-down running back in what should be the best game environment of the league this week. Grant, quarterback, you go Lamar. Running back, we're going to go ahead and take James Conner and actually Josh Jacobs. Wide receiver, Puka, Garrett Wilson. Tight end, we're going to go Kincaid. And then for the flex, we're going to go with James Cook over Amari and Hampton now that James Cook got in a full practice. Now, Graham Redden here for the flex. Go ahead and play George Pickens over Judy, Hunter, and Reed, and Charbonnet, I guess. With Pickens, hated him last week in the matchup against Philly, but better matchup this week. Fair deals, quarterback, we got Bo Nix. And then down in the flex, we are going to go ahead. We're going to play Tet McMillan. Actually, no, I'm sorry. We got Breece Hall, so we'll play Breece Hall. I am expecting us to see some pretty serious regression for this Jets offense, though. But I still think you got to play Breece because it's not like the Panthers are a good offense. Final fear. Here we're going to go ahead and we're going to take... dear God. Not excited about this, to be honest with you. I don't want to play Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt. I don't want to play Jalen Warren. I don't want to play Jordan Mason. I don't want to play Travion Henderson. Every single one of these players just projects out to be in a committee. If I'm looking at where they are in my flex ranks, we have Travion at 51. We have Warren at 52. Mason at 58. Can y'all spam the chat? Who would you play here at running back? Please let me know in the chat. Are you going to play Travion, Jalen Warren, Jordan Mason, or Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt? Wide receiver, London's going to be good to go. And then for the flex, you're probably going to go ahead and play Hollywood Brown. I've moved Hollywood up my ranks. We got Bill, Travion, Warren, Bill. Mason, Travion, Bill, Travion. Mason, Travion. So that's what I have it ranked as. I have it as Travion Henderson. But it is not the easiest spot, to be honest. Now, Trav Purple's coming through. Running back, we have Achane, Pollard. Both look to be auto starts. I'd go Achane, though. I think the Dolphins bounce back a little bit here. Sutton, the easy play at wide receiver. Tight end, I'm still going to go Njoku over Fan, and then we're going to go with Pollard there in the flex. Pollard played like 90% of the snaps last week with no Spears. Trustlock trading Barkley for Taylor and Igbuka. I'm going to go Jonathan. I'm sorry. I'm going to go Barkley unless we really need a receiver. We actually kind of really need a receiver. So I'm okay with you making this deal. My hesitation is it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So in general, I don't like down tiering to pick up an extra receiver. But yeah, that is not the easiest call. Now, Coin Farmer, this is Ricky Pearsall versus A.J. Brown. Give me A.J. Brown, not even remotely close. Xanax says, should I start Ricky Pearsall, Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt, or Travis Hunter week 2? Go Ricky Pearsall with no Juwan Jennings and no Kittle. Damian says, who should we start? Running back, I'm going to go Javonte over Pacheco. And then for the flex, we're going to go with probably Travis Hunter over Pacheco, to be honest, here in a full PPR format. Now, Shuddering Stanley, quarterback, give me Kyler over Dak. Great game environment. Give me Genty and Bijan as auto starts at running back. And then for wide receiver in the flex, we're going to go Ladd, Sutton. And then tight end, give me Kelsey with no Worthy and no Rice. Now, Bigsby is big. We need 2 receivers. We're going to go Tyreek, Sutton. And I know everybody in the chat is going to be screaming at us that they would rather play Igbuka over Tyreek Hill, and I don't blame them at all. I understand how bad the Dolphins looked last week, but current projections have the Miami Dolphins bouncing back in a big-time way. And I just have no idea how far behind we are on questions. I can almost guarantee that we are going to turn questions back on during this live stream, but I'm going to turn them off right now just so I can catch up a bit, and then we'll turn questions back on in like 20, 30 minutes if you wanted to get more in. But Charlemagne coming through. And again, I do want to reiterate, if y'all wanted to like guarantee that you could ever get your questions in, just hit the bell next to the subscribe button. YouTube will tell you when we go live, and we'll always have questions turned on at the beginning of the streams. Charlemagne, we're going to go with actually Evans until you get Godwin back over Sutton, but we're going to go Sutton in the flex spot. Sutton, I think, is in a really good situation where we actually just saw him be viable even with holy crap. My fiance just texted me that a stakeout is happening right now outside our house. Police. I'm going to go see what the hell's going on, and I'll report back to y'all. Let me see what cops are doing outside our house. All right, big news, big news, big news. Apparently, there's somebody loose in our neighborhood right now. The fiance saw somebody crazy going down the street and then saw a bunch of cop cars pull up. And I just was staring out the kitchen window, and there were 2 cops sprinting down our street. So I will keep y'all posted on what happens, but yeah, the doors are locked. And this is interesting, to say the least. But I may have to be the neighborhood hero real quick. We may have to turn off this live stream and go tackle some fool. But anyway, let's get back to the important stuff. That's going to be French Ice Cream's question here. It says 12-team PPR, tied in the flex help. I did Adams and Loveland week 1. Should I ride it out again? Okay. Now, tight ends, give me Jawan Jennings over Loveland at this point. And then I don't think you can play Loveland over Jawan, given the limited usage that Loveland had week 1. And then we're going to go Devontae Adams in the flex, though. Yeah, I'm going to chase him down like DK Metcalf. I'm telling you, these 2 cops, they were sprinting. There are like 3 cop cars parked in front of our house. And there's, and we just saw 2 cops sprinting down the road. Now, parlay DGen, 2 flex, super flex, advice on running back 2, tight end, and 2 flexes. Running back 2, you go with Dobbins still over Jordan Mason. Long term, I think you go Jordan Mason. Tight end Hunter Henry pretty easily. And then for the flexes, we're going to go with 2 receivers. We'll go Waddle, DJ Moore. And then for our super flex spot, I would go Michael Penix over Flacco. And I'd also play Penix over Roma Dunce if that's like a super flex right there. Now, Itachi. Oh, God, did y'all hear that engine rev? Ugh. Itachi says, who should I start at quarterback, Dak or Drake, and who to start receiver? I'd go Dak over Drake May this week. And then wide receiver, we have Hollywood versus Pickens being the main debate. I'm sure you saw in the rankings that I put out earlier today, Pickens ahead of Hollywood, but we were just wrong with that. If you look at the updated rankings on the site, we have Hollywood ahead of Pickens. So I would go Hollywood there. I'd leave that as is. Now, Alf says, big fan, Waddle or Trevion. I really appreciate you, my friend. And here, to be honest with you, I understand that Waddle really disappointed, but I do think you get a slight Waddle bounce back this week. But even a slight Waddle bounce back, I'd probably rather have Trevion Henderson here. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Dolphins look better this week than they did last. Now, quarterback Justin Herbert over Caleb here for Nico Nix. And then we got 4 flex spots we need. And we got a decent amount of options. Kamara, Hampton, Hubbard, the running backs with guaranteed volumes are always going to be my first starts. And then we'll go Sutton over Marv. Trey McBride still out-targeted Marv week 1, even if Marv had the big play in the touchdown. Temp, I'm going to go Jacoby Myers here at the flex over Devonta Smith right now because it looks like you may have no Bowers. Greg for the flex. We have no Worthy this week. We have no Addison this week. So it's Kayshon Boutte, Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, or Harold Fannin. I'm not really telling anybody to start Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt in general. I think it's a very tough matchup. But here I think you're going to be one of the few people that can. And what the hell just happened? Why is Apple TV turning on for me? Now, Jay Ferrier, wide receiver, running back. Running back, give me Javonte over Tracy and Kenneth Walker. Javonte clear lead back in an offense that should be very good and playing ahead. Give me Devonta Smith. And then between Rome and Keon Coleman, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Keon. But you also have Travis Hunter to consider. So let's be on the lookout for the reports with Travis Hunter this weekend and see if we get any clarity on how much offense versus how much defense he's going to be playing. And then I'd go Tracy with the guaranteed touches in the flex spot. Now, LaFaro says, need help with my running back 2, wide receiver 2, and flex. Running back 2, you go Amari and Hampton easily, in my opinion, given his volume. Wide receiver 2, I'd still go Igbuka over Hollywood. But then there in the flex, Hollywood, Zay Flowers is going to be pretty tough for me to choose between. I want to get Hollywood given the 16 targets he had last week, but we probably end up having to play Zay Flowers. As the Baltimore Ravens do project to be the highest scoring offense in the league this week. RH, wide receiver, give me Devonta Smith here. And then for the flex and tight ends, I'm going to go with Zach Ertz over Evan Ingham. And then the flex, I'm going to go Calvin Ridley over Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt in a full PPR format. Obviously, do not want anything to do, or did not want anything to do with Calvin Ridley last week in a really tough matchup against the Denver Broncos. But I think this matchup's going to be a lot better, and this matchup's going to be a lot easier and a good spot, or a better matchup at least than the Broncos was. Like the Titans projected to be the lowest scoring offense in the NFL last week. That is not the case this week. Drisco says Dallas Goedert doesn't practice again. Yeah, I actually dropped Dallas Goedert in my league when I had him as my second tight end, but my league mates don't really value tight ends that much, so there are a bunch on the waiver wire. Now, Lurkin Amigo. Here we need a tight end. We have David Njoku one more week over Harold Fannin for me, and then in the flex spots, I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift and Javonte. If Bowers were to miss, Jacoby does become very interesting, though. Now, Adam here for tight ends, give me Jake Ferg over Ertz. And then for the flex, I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton pretty easily. Now, 100 running back, we have Pacheco, Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt. I don't want anything to do with Pacheco. I'm going to tell you Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt. No idea what the role is going to be, but I mean, I can say the same thing about Pacheco, who at the same time doesn't look like he has any juice. And Pacheco did split the backfield 50-50. Now, the Soaring Eagle running back, go Pollard over Henderson easily this week. Wide receiver, London, Tyreek, or auto starts. And then for the flex, we're going to go with Zay Flowers. Scenarios quarterback, give me Lawrence. Oh, I'll probably go Bo Nix over Lawrence because Bo Nix is going to run the ball a bit more, and I think we get a bounce back. But Lawrence isn't a really good matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals. And then what we're looking at with tight end, we have Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft. Tyler Warren at this point is one of the very few must-start tight ends in fantasy. Okay, my fiance just told me what the scoop. I mean, she said she got the scoop of what's going on. Okay, I'll let y'all know why the cops are outside right now. I just text her to give me the deets, and I'll share these juicy, juicy neighborhood gossip details with y'all. Jonas says, how can I buy a trade question from you? I have them turned off right now. We are just too far behind. I will turn them on again in like 20 minutes. Just let me catch up on the questions that we have. But Bori, with our next one, we are going to go ahead. I'm going to take Dak Prescott over Justin Fields this week, even if Fields crushed him last week. And then Hunter Henry at tight end as well. Scenarios, I would rather have George Pickens rest of season over Jordan Mason. Now, Jaden trading Derrick Henry for Genty and Brian Thomas. While I'm the number one Derrick Henry fan, nobody's ever been higher on Derrick Henry than I have. If y'all remember, I actually ranked Derrick Henry as my running back one last year in fantasy football drafts, and I ranked him as my running back one this year as well. So, like, y'all know I'm a massive, massive Derrick Henry guy. Always have, always will be. But with that in mind, I would still probably prefer I would rather have Ashton Genty and Brian Thomas. Yeah, and that's coming from the number one Derrick Henry guy on this planet. And now Phil says, how's the lineup? Instead of Jordan Mason, I'll have Bucky because of a trade that will process tomorrow. If you're getting Bucky in here instead of Jordan Mason, that is a phenomenal. If we have like Bucky at running back 1, Kamara at running back 2, tight end Juwan in the short term, and then in the flex, I'm going to go Debo Samuel. Pickens is actually very interesting. I think you probably go Debo, but keep in mind, because Debo plays on Thursday, put him at wide receiver and put Nico Collins down in the flex just in case something happens. Now, the team's much better if we get Bucky Irving in there. Now, mediocre outset. Running back, we have Tyrone Tracy as the easy play over Ja'Cory Cross, Kamara Pacheco. All these running backs are committees / uncertain workloads where Tracy is maybe a less talented back in a worse offense, but he has the workload for the time being, so you got to play him. Starvin Marvin says, I don't trust Caleb Williams. Thinking about Debo or Myers. Also, should I drop for Jawan Johnson? We have Kelsey at tight end, so I wouldn't drop anybody for Jawan Johnson right now. And then I'm going to be going with Debo over Jacoby Myers in a vacuum. If you wanted to pivot to Myers because you have Brock Bowers missing practice today, and if you think that Brock Bowers is going to be missing the game this weekend, then I understand you going with Jacoby Myers. But Debo looks to be in a really good spot at this point. Okay. Now, Chuck Milk. We need 2 running backs. CMC, Henry are the auto starts. Wide receiver, we have Evans and Tet McMillan. Or actually, we're going to go a Book over Tet with no Godwin. Tight end, Tyler Warren. And then this is an incredible team. And we'll go James Cook in the flex. Now, Phil says, how are we feeling about the wide receiver room outside of the top 2? Diggs, questionable. Worthy Ayuk long-term plays. Jennings banged up. I feel okay. And the reason for this is while clearly our wide receiver 3 and beyond, they are bad. You can see that here. If you have Pollard that we can play in the short term for the flex right now, it frankly doesn't matter what your wide receiver depth looks like because you're only ever going to play those top 2 names. So don't get me wrong. Your wide receiver depth is bad, but frankly, I don't know if it really matters. Now, Krill Chain with our next one. Here at wide receiver or for the flex, you go with Igbuka very easily over these other receivers in the short term for sure. Seller says, had the annual mother flocker in the team voucher but can't use. So I have the team reviews turned off right now. So essentially, you just got to wait until we turn the team reviews on. I turn the team reviews on and off, on and off. That way I can just manage how many questions that we have to go through. Because if I have them on at all times, what we found is it's just impossible for me to stay up to date with them. So I'll turn the team reviews back on shortly, but we just are backed up too much right now. Now, Yonder says 2 of Tuden, Ray Davis, Braylon Allen, and Brian Robinson Jr. If I had to pick 2 of these guys to roster, I'm going to go Byshell Tuden and Braylon Allen. The reason being is I actually am rostering Ray Davis myself, but James Cook got in the full practice today, so it looks like James Cook will be good to go. Now, Stewart trading Rashee Rice for J.J. McCarthy in a Dynasty Superflex format. Dynasty Superflex League, yeah, give me McCarthy. Now, Seljay here for the flex. I'm going to go with Sutton. Again, Bo Nix looked very bad last week, but even in a game where Bo Nix wasn't great, Sutton still crushed. We gave NFL Gamecock a free question earlier in this stream. Right now, they have Tucker Kraft in a flex. I'm honestly going to take Tucker Kraft out. I have a general rule of thumb. I'm never going to flex a tight end if it's a non-tight end premium format. So, really, I think that you're going to play Kayshon Boutte here. This is a start 11 format, right? So the depth matters a ton. And then you'll have Tucker Kraft as the play if Brock Bowers ends up missing. But we're obviously going to hope that Bowers plays. Now, DXX Vin says, hey, Mason, deciding on the flex, Bill or Olave, thanks. Thank you. Full PBR format. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to play Chris Olave. I can't play Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt against the Packers until we see Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt lead the backfield. LedX trading Judkins and RJ Harvey for Travis Etienne and Luther Burden. It's pulling in the dynasty values, but looking at your roster, it looks like it's a redraft league instead. And if it's a redraft format, I'd way rather have Travis Etienne over the combo of Harvey and Judkins now that you have no Bigsby. Now, Nick coming through, trading away Bo Nix, Josh Jacobs, Igbuka for Jalen Hurts, Bucky Irving. So Jacobs to Bucky, slight upgrade. Bo Nix to Jalen Hurts, massive upgrade. And we're paying Igbuka as the price. 100% reasonable price to pay. Let's go ahead and let's make this deal. Now, Chubby Penix. Here, tight end, you're going to go Juwan Johnson over a banged up Dallas Goedert. And then for the flex spot, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to play Tet McMillan over Ricky Pearsall and Jalen Warren. With Ricky Pearsall, obviously is interesting with all the pass catchers going down in San Francisco, but you also have no Purdy. Now, Vega trading Josh Jacobs, Caleb Johnson, Devontae Adams, Michael Pittman Jr. for Travis Etienne, RJ Harvey, Mike Evans, Jordan Addison. So Pittman to Addison, slight upgrade. Adams to Evans, slight upgrade. Caleb Johnson, RJ Harvey, massive upgrade. Josh Jacobs to Travis Etienne, massive downgrade. It looks like your league is one in which depth matters, so I'm okay with you down tiering at the 1 spot to upgrade at 3. Am I super, super excited about it? Probably not. But I think you're okay to go through and make this move. Now, Sanjo Wall, here for the flex. Tony Pollard, 3-down bell cow. You go ahead and you start Tony Pollard. No question about it. Once Spears comes back in, then we will have to reevaluate. But for the time being, I'd say 99.9% of y'all should be starting Pollard. So Anthony will be our next question here. But before we get to Anthony's question, let me give away some free questions in the chat for everybody hanging out with us. To qualify for free questions, all you got to do is make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. We are going to be live streaming every single day until Christmas, answering as many free questions as we possibly can. As y'all can tell, the majority of these questions that we answer here are free questions that were submitted. So, and I would love to try to get to as many of y'all's questions as I can. Nathan says, momless formation. Okay. And I think the fiance maybe just texted me back with the details. I can't find you, my friend. I can only find you on flockfantasy.com if you use code FLOCK. So add code FLOCK to your account page if you haven't already. That goes for Steve Speed as well. Let's see if we can find Stay Me. Stay Me just found you and just sent you over a free start set. CG. Just found you. And just sent you over a free start sit as well. Thank you so much for hanging out with us in the stream. And let's move back over and rip through these. Oh, this is actually really important. Paul says, Paul Danino is also answering free questions in the chat. Back-to-back winner of my one-man fantasy league. So this is a highly accomplished fantasy drafter here. If y'all don't know, the Paul Danino one-man fantasy league is the toughest fantasy football league on this planet. And we have the winner of it in the chat with us, Paul Danino, and he's going to be answering your free questions as well. So if you have any free questions that you need to get answered, just at Paul in the chat. Now, Anthony, this is Kamara versus Amari and Hampton. Give me Hampton in the long term. I have Kamara ranked higher this week, but I think Hampton just continues to get better as time goes on. Always the Jags says, my side also includes a future first, lost Purdy and Kittle, so we need to make a move. 3 first-round picks and Matthew Golden. Like, Matthew Golden versus Zay Flowers is the same for me. Would I rather have 3 first-round picks or Justin Fields and A.J. Brown? I'd rather have 3 first-round picks. I'm going to be very rude when I say this, but if you need to trade your 2026, 2027, and 2028 first-round picks to try to contend this year, you're not a contender. Do not do that. And we got Mr. Salvetri, currently 0-1 in the Flock League. Absolutely brutal. So, Mason, we're in the volleyball playoffs. Are you showing up next week or no? I played the 5th on that one. I may or may not plead the 5th, my friend. I'm going to try my best, but the people in this live stream aren't the happiest if I miss a stream. We'll say that. Now, always the Jags with our next one. Says, we already answered this one. So, yeah, we're going to go with this side if it has 3 future first. We got Sammy Stacks, the newest independent contractor of flockfantasy.com. Says he ain't going. I'm going to try my best. I'll try my best. Oh, Redemption says, Mason, how do I get the Flock Fantasy hat? Would cop ASAP. I just spent more money than I've ever spent in my entire life ordering a massive order of these hats. And I'm going to be, or my brother, fiance, and myself once we get them in a few weeks, we'll be sending them out to the mother flockers on flockfantasy.com. And if we have any left over, we'll also be sending them out to the people who got season passes. But I can't guarantee that everybody who got the season pass will get a hat. First priority will be the mother flockers on the site, but we're not selling them. It'll just be sent to the members for free. Now, XX, here you start. I'm going to go Travis Etienne over James Cook. That's the highest over-under of any game this week. And James Cook did pop up on the injury report with the hamstring, of course. Wide receiver, we go Metcalf, Pickens here. And then for the flex, we're going to go right back to James Cook. I would love to start Tony Pollard, but your team's too good. Your team's great. Now, LedX with our next one. I'll go Dak over Lawrence. I think Lawrence is a fine streamer this week, though. And then for the flex spots, give me Trevion over Jalen Warren. Wide receiver, give me Marv. And then the flex, give me Pickens. I like Pickens a lot more this week than I did last week. The fiance just texted me the details. Creepy. So I told y'all that there were the cops outside sprinting around. Fiance says, guy was in the backyard of the people who have blank the golden retriever. I'm not doxing my neighbor's dog's name. So they called the police and they think he was just Casing houses. I have no idea what the hell that means. Assuming that's an auto. But Matt trading Jonathan Taylor, Garrett Wilson for Bijan. This is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. Leftover wide receivers. We're going to be fine. So, yeah, I would go ahead and I'd get Bijan here. Now, Franco for the flex. Give me George Pickens easily. I know Pickens bombed week 1, but much better matchup week 2. So, Titan, we are going to go with Hunter Henry over Tucker Kraft. And then I'm also going to go with Tyrone Tracy with the guaranteed workload there in the flex. Phil says casing means you're likely to rob. Let me see. What's the definition of What's the definition of casing here? Definition of casing. Casing houses. Okay. Casing houses refers to a preliminary surveillance by potential burglars where they observe and study a house to identify security weaknesses, potential entry points, and the residents' routines to plan a successful break-in. That is the scariest crap I have. Oh my gosh. Oh lordy. Oh lordy. So looks like we may have to be stepping up the security premises at the Dodd household. We got a 100-pound dog, but looks like we got a Nest Ring doorbell camera, but I have been thinking for a while though, no lie, of potentially getting like the legit like cameras to put in the corner of the houses. Now Nava here. Quarterback, we got May. Running back, we're going to go with Travis Etienne as an auto start. And then the flex, we're going to go Sutton. I don't think you need to take the risk with Walker. Anthony, we got Tony Pollard, Keenan Allen versus Dylan Sampson, T. Higgins. Give me Higgins over Pollard, Sampson over Keenan. Yeah, I'm fine with us making this move. Now, Remarkable Cole says, Hawkinson on the waiver wire, fab amount, $100 max. Who do we drop for him? If Jalen Coker is actually on your roster, you drop Jalen Coker for him. If Jalen Coker's on your IR and you're unable to drop Coker, then in that case, I would probably go ahead and either drop Tyler Algier or David Njoku. As realistically, how the hell can you ever start David Njoku if it's a tight end by committee in the worst offense in the league? So, and in that case, I probably go ahead and I probably spend 30 to 40% of my fab on him. Let's move this over. And I'd also probably start Olave there. Max Ammo trading Trevion for Tet. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. Wide receiver, we have Lamb, DJ Moore, Rice, Pittman, Addison, Calvin Austin. I would rather have Trevion Henderson for your team. Yonder running back, we have Travis Etienne as an auto start. And then there for the flex, we're going to go with Amari and Hampton as well. But I want to make sure everybody knows, if you have Travis Etienne, for the love of God, make sure Etienne's in your starting lineup. Flock of Jaguars here. I know that we picked up Harold Fannin, so maybe you feel okay about tight end. In reality, no, you just keep Trey McBride. Hammer fight with our next one. Running back, we'll have Trevion Henderson. Wide receiver, we're going to go ahead. We will take, dear God, this isn't the easiest spot. I'm going to go Smith now that you have no Goddard. And then in the flex, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Terry McLaurin. But again, Terry plays tonight, so I'd go ahead and I'd put Terry in at wide receiver, and then I'll put Smith in the flex spot just in case something changes. Okay. Asian says, how will we get our shipping info for the hats if we're Mother Flocker members? Here's what I'll do right now. I'll set up, no, I'm going to have to take pictures. So essentially, if y'all want a hat, again, we're not going to sell them, but we're going to give them away to all the members on the site. I will post a Google form, and this is what we've done in the past as well. I post a Google form on flockfantasy.com. I'll post that tomorrow for y'all. As realistically, I'll give y'all a couple weeks to fill it out. It'll only take like 1 minute, but just because I know it's not like everybody watches every stream, so I'll talk about it a bunch. And yeah, we should get the hats. Like right now, I already have about 400, but like I said, I just ordered 2,000. I just spent more money on hats than I've ever spent my entire life on anything. And yeah, you'll just put in on the Google form your email address to flockfantasy.com so I can confirm your membership status, your address that you want the hat shipped to, and then we're going to have a bunch of different designs, and you'll like rank the designs that you like from best to worst. That way we can hopefully get what you like best for you. Okay. Sploot says, Mason expecting a quote-unquote heavy suspension for Judkins. News alert. Well, let me see. Where is that? Qualm says, how many members are there on the site? I don't have the exact numbers. What I do know is there are less than 2,000 mother flockers. So every mother flocker should most likely be able to get a free piece of merch. And this is annual mother flockers. But there are, if you combine the season pass holders and the mother flockers, there are more than 2,000. So not everybody will get a, not everybody who got a season pass will get a hat. But all the annual mother flockers should. I don't see the Judkins report that he's getting a heavy suspension. Teresa, the Google form will be on the like post page on the site. Or I think that page is labeled drafts now. But it's not going to be up until tomorrow. I can't see anything in terms of the Judkins heavy suspension or not. So, yeah, I'm going to pretend that that's not real. Yeah, I know Judkins was a full participant at practice today. That's real. Now, George with the start sit here for the flex. We're going to go ahead and we will jam in George Pickens in a full PPR format. Pickens, much better start today than last week. Dr. Brett says, I have Lamar, Bijan, Devonta Sutton, Rome, and Evan Ingram. Jacobs to Taylor, slide upgrade. Pearsall to Ridley, lateral move. Zach Ertz to Andrews, who cares? I'll go ahead and I'll take the best player in the deal, which is Jonathan Taylor. And I have Josh Jacobs. So I hope Jacobs crushes him, but probably not based off what we saw last week. Now, Trevor here, running back, we have, honestly, I'm fine going Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt over Aaron Jones and Pacheco. I don't want to start JCM, but it's not like the other running backs are in great spots either. Drake London will be an auto start in one flex spot, and we'll go George Pickens in the other one over Keon Coleman. Great wide receiver room. Now, Beto, always out here, says, hey, Mason, running backs are valuable in my league. Waivers look awful, but I wouldn't make any trades unless it's an overpay. Would you do this if it's McBride instead? So I would do this for either one. And based on Bowers missing practice today and it looking like Brock Bowers is actually going to miss some time, what I am probably going to do is I would probably move Bowers below McBride in my rankings at this point. I would rather have a healthy McBride than a banged up Bowers. So yes, I think I would probably do this trade for either guy, but I think I may actually prefer McBride at this point. Phil, I don't think I would do questions off the live stream because it's honestly faster for me to do them on the live stream than it is for me to do them off the live stream. And off the live stream, I'm having to do a bunch of research for videos. I'm having to do a bunch of prep, having to do a bunch of stuff for the site, like the rankings, So in reality, like the easiest time for me to answer your questions is when I'm on the live stream. So I don't think I'll ever like say like, oh yeah, we can also answer questions off the stream, because it honestly would just take me longer to do that. I would rather just stream it. Now, Zosint, this is Travis Etienne of Monroe St. Brown versus Jahmyr Gibbs and Tucker Kraft. Gibbs over St. Brown, Travis Etienne here as well. This is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. Your wide receiver room is going to be garbage after this, though. And wide receivers on the waiver wire aren't phenomenal. In general, for the majority of teams with these league settings, I think Jahmyr Gibbs has more value. However, I don't know if you can afford to trade away Monroe St. Brown. I think you may be needing to hold on to St. Brown here, to be honest. Groove for the flex, I'm going to go ahead. I will play Terry McLaurin here pretty easily. But Terry plays tonight, so of course move him to wide receiver and move Evans to the flex. Trevor's the second team. Thanks as always, legend. Thank you so much for sticking with me for so long, my guy. Wide receiver, we're going to go ahead. We're going to auto start Igbuka with no Godwin. And then for the flex spots, full PPR, I'm going to go Pickens. And honestly, I'm going to go Waddle. Sportsbooks are projecting the Dolphins offense to get a pretty big bounce back this week. I think I'd play Waddle over like Sharps. OG Stan, this is Sharp, RJ Harvey versus Trey Benson. I'm going to go ahead. I will take Sharp here. I'm not that excited about it, though. Wide receiver, give me Waddle over Booty and Keenan. And then for the flex, full PPR format, give me Keenan Allen. Now, Amari in Hampton says, thoughts on the team rest of the season. Analyzer says I'm ranked 2. Quarterback, we're not great. You're playing the matchups. I'd go Kyler over McCarthy. Wide receiver, I'm going to go Evans over Igbuka still. And then here for the flex, we're going to go with Igbuka. I think you need to have a couple of these wide receivers to hit. You really just need to wait until you get Rice back as well. Will Clap Thy Cheeks says, Loveland still worth stashing after last week, or is he someone to drop for a middle-of-the-pack starter? Hunter Henry is my other tight end. Here's my thought process with Loveland. Say, hypothetically, you were in a scenario where you had Loveland and you also had Kittle. And you're like, crap, I just lost Kittle. I really need somebody to start this week. I really don't want to start Loveland this week. I know he has a lot of long-term upside, but blah, blah, blah. Now, with that in mind, if we are looking at you having both Hunter Henry and Colson Loveland, I think you're in a spot where you go ahead and you just hold on to Loveland. Because you can start Hunter Henry in the short term anyway, right? And Loveland still does have a tremendous amount of long-term upside. It's just the role in the short term was bad. So start Hunter Henry, but stash Loveland for sure. Dash 6-7 coming through. This is Dak Prescott versus Justin Fields. Give me Dak this week. I know Fields crushed him last week. And then down here in the flex, we're going to go Calvin Ridley pretty easily. I was very much worried about Calvin Ridley. However, this week it's a much better matchup where you don't have to go up against the Denver Broncos. Now, let's see how many more questions we got. We got not too many more. So we'll be able to turn questions back on in a second. Let me give some free questions out to people in the chat real quick, though. All you got to do to qualify for a free question is 1, hit the like button. 2, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And 3, I would recommend if you wanted to be able to send in a roster review, send in some free start set questions, send in some trade questions, to hit the bell next to the subscribe button so YouTube tells you when we go live, because we are always going to have questions open at the beginning of every streams where you can go through and you can get them in easily. But let's go ahead and let's pull some people up. We got Josh Chorizo. Let me see if I can find you on the site. And if so, I'll send you over some questions. Yeah, I do really like these hats, though. I think these are my favorite hats we've ever ordered. You can see that we also have here on the side, has like the Flock Fantasy logo, if that will... What's it called? Yeah, focus. I think, and they actually feel really good. These are definitely much better than the hats we used to have. Josh just found you. Just sent you over a free start set. Let's go Ghostly Lord 73. Just found you and sent you over a free start set as well. Okay, so Bust the Moon. Running back, we're going to go Achane and Trevion. Wide receiver, give me Neighbors and Higgins. And then for the double flex spots, give me the combo of Igbuka and Ricky Pearsall. Now, Toaster Clem, for the flex, I think we're going to go ahead and we will play... I think you have to play Brees over Wilson. I just am so much more confident with the rushing production in New York than the passing volume. Quagga, give me Kyler over Fields, given the game environment is against Carolina. Give me Pitts over Jawan. And then for the flex, give me Travis Hunter over Kayshon Boutte. Omar, wide receiver, give me Roma Dunze over Kayshon Boutte. And then for the flex, we're going to go ahead and we will take Boutte if Jawan Jennings. Honestly, I'm going to take Boutte regardless. Am I super excited about it? No, but I think you kind of just have to roll with it. Now, our next question coming out from Warped Fog. Here at wide receiver, we're going to go ahead and we will take Cortland Sutton. And then in the flex, Travis Etienne as an auto start. Again, for anybody watching this, if you have Etienne, there is no higher over under than the Jags Bengals game this week. You play Travis Etienne for sure. Sploot says, we get one for half PPR scoring, trying to go 3-1. Okay. Okay. So honestly, you don't change your strategy at all if you're getting an additional win for being in the top half of the scoring. I think here you just play it stupid simple. You go with the running backs, Travis Etienne and Breece Hall. High touch floors and both have big play potential. Kevin says, I have Hollywood Brown available or Calvin Ridley. I have Hollywood now ranked over Calvin Ridley if you look at the rankings on the site. I don't know what we had it as in the video that came out this morning, but I'm going to go Hollywood for sure. Now, D. Greaves, play Javonte. Javonte is actually a really compelling start this week against the Giants, where the Cowboys project to score a bunch of points, and they are heavy favorites, so they should be able to run the ball. So your neighbor Jennings. Running back Brees, Kenneth Walker will be the two plays. Tight end, give me Andrews over Loveland. And then for the flex, we're going to go with Ladd McConkey. Do not bench Ladd. He is somebody that you have to play no matter what. Now, Shamil, running back Hampton. And then I will go, probably going to go Kenneth Walker over Ja'Cory Cross-Kamara. Ja'Cory Cross-Kamara is a horrible matchup. Wide receiver, play Drake London. Looks like he'll be good to go. And then we'll go Igbuka in the flex with no Godwin. Now, Slick Ricky, wide receiver, give me Tyreek. And then for the flex, give me Genty. I know that our rankings, actually, we may have to go Garrett Wilson. You have a bunch of strong receiver options. I saw Tyreek, and I just kind of want to say Tyreek's an auto start. Again, I think you're going to be in a big bounce back spot for the Dolphins offense. I know they look like the worst offense in the league last week. But this Patriots passing defense is really, really bad. Looking at my rankings this week, I have Garrett Wilson at 16. I have Tyreek at 17. So yeah, I think you actually go with Wilson here. But no matter what, you're playing Ash and Genty there in the flex. Jacob says, Ted or Terry would also... what about the Green Bay defense or the Arizona defense? I'm going to go the Arizona defense just with a better matchup, but I think... Let me pull up something real quick. What is the Packers' schedule going forward? You know what? The Packers play the Browns next week. So if I were you, I would go ahead and I would actually go with the Packers defense this week. Because I don't know if the Packers defense is that much worse of a play this week than what you have with the Cardinals. I definitely would prefer the Cardinals. But next week, the Packers should be the number one defense, not even remotely close, going up against the Browns. And the between Ted or Terry, I'm going to go with Ted. M3 says, and then I was also, sorry for the being spaced out. I realized you made us look that up, that I needed to go through, and I needed to put in a waiver claim for the Packers DST. But it says, who would you recommend I trade before Mixon takes up my roster? Tyrone Tracy. I think Tracy would be the sell high guy. Or honestly, you cannot roster 3 tight ends. I think you would have a very easy call to just drop a tight end. But if you're looking for a sell high candidate, I think Tyrone Tracy has a cap ceiling based off his talent profile, based off his offense. And then I think it's a low floor if Cam Skadoo is going to expand his role as time goes on. Okay. Now, Griffin D says, is streaming a tight end worth getting a quarterback / value upgrade? Bowers to Genty. Give me Genty here pretty easily with the Bowers injury. ETN to Jalen Hurts. I would rather have Jalen Hurts, and I have ETN on my own team. Keon to Tet. I would rather have, yeah, you're upgrading 3 spots. It's for sure worth streaming tight end. Go make that deal. Amateur quarterback, I don't know who you're playing. Running back, we're going to go ahead and we will take Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt over Pacheco. Don't love it. And in the flex, we're going to go with Travis Hunter. Legend quarterback, give me Fields over Baker. The Bucs do not project out well this week. And then wide receiver, you start. Oh my gosh, this is tough. This is a really tough spot because in general, I want to say that you have Travis Etienne as an auto start, A.J. Brown as an auto start, Evans as an auto start, and London as an auto start. You have a loaded team. You should go out there and trade for a better quarterback. I have London 17, Evans 26, A.J. Brown 27, and Etienne 24 in my rankings. So technically, I have A.J. Brown 1 spot lower than these guys, but there's no world in which I want A.J. Brown on our bench. So I think you trade for an elite quarterback. Duke, this is Jalen Waddle and Marvin Harrison for Jackson Smith and Jigba. Give me JSN. It's a deeper format, so I understand us not wanting to make this trade, but I do think that JSN looks to be in a different tier this year. Tank Tone, trading DeAndre Swift, Josh Jacobs for James Cook and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'd rather have St. Brown over Jacobs. I'd rather have James Cook over DeAndre Swift, so I'd 100% make this trade. And let me refresh. Looks like we're caught up on all these start-sit questions and trade questions, so I'm going to pivot back over to the roster reviews real quick. We'll run through these roster reviews, and we'll turn the questions back on the site. We're not going to answer all these roster reviews before we turn back on the questions, but let me at least get through a few. Now, Jim's, and we're going to be live streaming for another 2 hours. So we're going to give away a bunch of free questions as well. And let's actually give out some free questions now. So if y'all want a free question, all you got to do is to qualify. 1, be subscribed to the channel. 2, drop a like on the live stream. And 3, drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. So, stupid simple. Just make sure you're subscribed. Hit the like. And drop your flockfantasy.com name in the chat. And you will be qualified to win some free questions. And we got only drafts here with this free one. Let's see if I can find you. Only drafts, just found you. And just sent you over a free start sit. We got Clax. Let's see if I can find you. I cannot. I can only find you on the site if you use code FLOCK when you signed up. We got Colin, who's been with us forever. Thank you, my guy, for sticking with me. Just found you. and just sent you over a free start set as well. And we'll send out some more, but let me run through some of these questions and then we'll turn back on the start sets and stuff too. Jim says, let me have it, homie. I was busting your balls about on the domain stream. My team looks good on the surface, but I need a running back. Who should I trade? / should I trade? Much love, but hook 'em horns. Oh, hook 'em horns, my friend. Love to see that we can get along this way. Really appreciate you. And this is going to be a league in which the depth matters a considerable amount. Like, this is almost set up with the league standings more like a dynasty league than it is a redraft format. Now, of course, I know it's a redraft league, but I'm just saying, like, the depth at wide receiver is actually incredibly important here. So for me, it's not as important for you to just go and trade for an elite QB, go and trade for an elite tight end. Looking at what we have with our squad, we are currently first in the league analyzer at receiver, which again, in your format particularly, I think building around the skill position depth makes a ton of sense. We have Lamb, Nico, Tet, and Igbuka. All four of them we can get into our starting lineup every single week. We have Kamara, Chuba Hubbard, Tony Pollard. All three of them we can get into our starting lineup every single week. So like the leftover bench pieces are like Trey Benson, Braylon Allen, Jawan Jennings. This is a phenomenal team. We have an extremely solid tight end room with Devin Ingram at the top. Quarterback, we can play the matchups with Dak and Lawrence. If this was a league in which you only started 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, I would be highly skeptical of this roster. And what I would say is you would really need to go out there and see if we could sell like Igbuka and Dak Prescott to go get an upgrade at quarterback. But here with your league setting specifically, I actually think that you are probably incentivized instead to hold this as is. If I were going to be making any moves with this team, I think I would rather have Matthew Golden over Trevor Lawrence. I would rather have McCarthy over Lawrence. So realistically, here's what I would probably do. I know there's a tight end premium aspect of it, so I don't want to cut Hunter Henry because I think there's a world in which Hunter Henry could go into your flex with these league settings. I think looking at the amount of quarterbacks that are on the waiver wire, you have okay streaming options. To the point with how important wide receiver depth is, I think and even though we're the number 1 team in the league at wide receiver, I think I would cut Lawrence. I think I would pick up Matthew Golden and just dominate wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, flex 1, and flex 2. And then if like we get a big time golden breakout, then maybe at that point you can afford to go through and trade Igbuka and Dak Prescott to get an upgrade at quarterback. But yeah, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to see if there's a way that we can go ahead and we can upgrade at quarterback there. I'm sorry, just make the pivot at wide receiver and then the long-term upgrade at quarterback once we get some of the rookies breaking out. But overall, great team. I wish I had more for you, but honestly, I think you've optimized exactly for your league format specifically. If it was a league in which you only started 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, I think you would need to go trade for a QB now. But I think that's more of a long-term play for you now. Now, Log Bomb says, I may have a trade for McBride, but it cost Amari and Hampton plus minimum. This is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, so the elite tight end would be great. I feel low at running back and scared of the tight end, and people in my league are very hard to trade with because they overvalue their players. I would have won if I didn't play the Ravens defense. Oh, yeah, that is brutal. I'm playing the Ravens defense this week against the Browns, but I didn't want to last week. And then just subscribe to the Mother Flocker today. Really appreciate you, my guy, and super excited to check out your team. Hopefully the website's able to help you out through the season for sure. We are currently 5th in the league analyzer using my values. Looking at what we have at quarterback, we have Baker and we have Purdy. So obviously with Baker, we're starting him in the short term here. With Baker, until you get the left tackle back, until you get Godwin back, the projections with the Buccaneers offense, not the best. Looking at what we have at running back, we are currently rolling out Bucky Irving as well as Amari and Hampton. So the fact of the matter is, while I like the idea of trading for an elite tight end, you can't afford to sell Amari and Hampton. Like maybe if Ja'Cory Cross-Garrett comes out tonight and really cements himself as the guy then sure, you can go ahead and you can sell Amari and Hampton in that case. But you're not going to be able to until that point. Wide receiver, we have Jefferson, JSN as 2 alphas. We have DJ Moore for a flex. And then tight end, we're Buns. Yeah, I think your hands are tied behind your back right now. I would consider cutting Purdy for Love to play the matchups with in comparison to Baker Mayfield over the next few weeks, unless with your league settings, you're allowed to put Brock Purdy in your IR slot, which in that case, then I think you're okay with leaving this as is. Running back waiver wire moves, I'm not going to be making anything. I think you keep this as is for now. Wide receiver, we're leaving this as is too. If you ended up getting a big spike from DJ Moore, then maybe at that point we could try to explore like trading for an elite tight end with a receiver rather than the running back, where the running back depth is very shaky again. I don't see any expendable assets on your roster. I don't see anything where we can say, oh yeah, this is a super easy deal. Let's go through and let's sell Amari and Hampton for Trey McBride. Do not make that trade. I think you're just going to have to roll with the punches here. I think you're going to hope that we get some of these young wide receivers in the bottom end of our team breaking out to an extent where maybe all of a sudden like Jackson Smith and Jigba becomes tradable for one of the top 2 tight ends a couple weeks from now. But until we get confirmation that like, hey, Ja'Cory Cross-Gamert's somebody that we can play in our flex, or hey, Keon Coleman's good to go, or Quentin Johnson's good to go, we can't make that move. I think you're just going to have to be chilling for now. But I really do appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. Is there anything else to discuss? I think you're just stuck with your hands tied behind your back, given the injuries on this roster. We did get the good news where it looks like Evan Ingram's probably going to be good to go, though. But I really appreciate you. And D says, trade Quentin Johnston. He's a boom-bust player. I'd agree. If you can trade Quentin Johnston, go for it. But the fact of the matter is nobody's going to buy him from you. So I think you're probably leaving this team as is and hoping we get that big-time breakout from some of those rookie running backs. But I wish I had something for you. Let me send you over a free trade. I know you already have some free questions in your account as well from the annual Mother Flocker membership, but just in case there's anything else that you want me to look at. Now, that Morris kid, always out here and always happy to see you. This is old Greg, the 5X champ, looking to go back-to-back and become the 6X champ. Traded Hampton and Hunter for JSN and Connor. Fact of the matter is, your league mates should stop trading with you. If you've won your league 5 times and you're still pulling off trades where you're trading Amari and Hampton and Travis Hunter for JSN and Connor, they need to tap out and they need to just take a look in the mirror and figure out that you're not somebody they should trade with. Trying to package some depth like Pittman and Tracy to tier up at receiver or running back, but the league mates are making it tough since we've been dominating year after year. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. If I were your league mates, I would not trade with you. Any recommendations on the team? Love, appreciate you, my friend, and super excited to check this out. So I guess actually, yeah, Michael Mayer may be an interesting tight end this week if you have no Brock Bowers. I didn't even think of it, but I mean, I understand you wanting to roster Michael Mayer at this point now. With that being said, it is very difficult to justify rostering 3 tight ends and only 4 running backs. So I think you got to pick a lane here. You either got to drop Jake Ferguson or Michael Mayer. Ask yourself, who would you be more likely to start? Michael Mayer with no Brock Bowers or Jake Ferguson? Because you're probably going to have to start one of these tight ends considering the Dallas Goedert injury, but at the same time, I don't necessarily know if we want to roster both. Like, you're not going to start Michael Mayer. Cut Michael Mayer. I agree. It's somewhat interesting here. I would rather you pick up DJ Giddens because Jonathan Taylor goes down, then all of a sudden you actually could be looking at a league-winning option. going over and looking at what we have with the running back versus wide receiver trade pieces, here's going to be your issue. You're in a situation in which you don't really have the luxury of wide receiver depth that we don't need right now. Because if we look at this, Jordan Addison suspended, Jawan Jennings not practicing. Jennings looks like he's not going to be anything anytime soon. So if the fact of the matter is we fill out our week 1 starting lineup and it's not that strong, like we're sitting with Chase Brown, James Conner at running back, Nico JSN at receiver, Tyrone Tracy, DK Metcalf down in the flexes. I mean, actually, don't get me wrong. I shouldn't say it isn't strong. That is a very strong wide receiver room. But it's not like we have a bunch of these expendable assets. Like our best player on our bench is Michael Pittman Jr., right? So I agree. If you could trade Pittman, if you could send him in a package with Tyrone Tracy to get an upgrade at running back, don't get me wrong. I would like to do that. I just don't necessarily see a path for us to being able to. Like if we were to go through and if we were to try to figure out how to do this, taking a look at some of these teams that actually need some help at wide receiver. Let's sort it by the weakest wide receiver teams in your league. Because according to the league analyzer, we have the best wide receiver room in the league. This team has Keenan Allen as their wide receiver too. I guess you could say, oh, if you can trade Tyrone Tracy and Michael Pittman Jr., like you're not going to get to Derrick Henry. If you could trade like Nico Collins and Tyrone Tracy for Derrick Henry, let's do it. Or Michael Pittman Jr. and Chase Brown for Derrick Henry, let's do it. Like this team's garbage at receiver, but it's much easier said than done. This team is George Pickens, Matthew Golden right now as their wide receivers 2 and 3. One thing that I would consider doing is if this team's having a hard time fielding a starting lineup right now, where they also have the George Kittle injury, I would go out there and I would actually try sending them Michael Pittman Jr. and a tiny piece for Rashee Rice. Like send them Michael Pittman Jr. and Dylan Sampson for Rice, where Pittman's on our flex anyways, so we don't necessarily even need him. But that person, Pittman would immediately slide into their actual... I'm sorry, Pittman's on our bench, but they would slide into their flex. This team's okay at receiver. This team's okay at receiver. This team is Luther Burden, wide receiver 4. If you could go like James Conner and Michael Pittman Jr. over to Bucky Irving, I'd absolutely love to do that, but much easier said than done there as well. But yeah, I agree. Like the only trade that would make sense for you is to send Pittman with like Tracy to get a running back upgrade. But you can't go out there and like just overpay for one because we don't have Addison and we don't have Jawan Jennings in the short term. So we are in a little bit of a handicap spot. And then I would also, like I said, drop Michael Mayer, pick up DJ Giddens, because if Jonathan Taylor goes down this week, then all of a sudden you actually do have DJ Giddens turning into a league winner. But let me send you over some free questions. I'm very much hoping that you're able to take it down this year, my guy. Obviously, we are going to need a much better performance from Nico Collins in the future for that to happen. But really appreciate you and really happy to see that you are back out here with us. Now let's move this over to our next question. It's going to be from NJB. Says another year for the 20-team league. Okay, if y'all don't know, he has been out with us for, I don't know, if about as long as that Morris kid. These are 2 long time members of the flock. 3 keepers per year, 0.1 points per return yard. Mainly wondering if I should sacrifice trade to upgrade somewhere else. Thanks. Thank you. In general, 20-team league, we all need to mentally prepare ourselves for a very bad roster, right? Think about it. Tyrone Tracy in a 20-team league is a phenomenal running back too. Like if Tyrone Tracy's your running back too in a 20-team league, you are a happy camper. We are currently 5th in the league analyzer, which sounds great in a 20-team league, but the fact of the matter is teams 4 through about 15 are all the same, and there are these 3 teams at the top that are absolutely dominant. Somebody in a 20-team league somehow has Bijan, Derrick Henry, Drake London. So absolutely crazy. But here, give me 1 second to do something on this other monitor. Okay. So looking at our roster, I would say in general, in the 20-team league, it's going to be very difficult to get away with the elite level tight end. Because if you're in a 20-team league, the wide receiver and the running back depth is just going to be much, much worse. Looking at what we have when it comes to quarterback, we have McCarthy. The options on the waiver wire are just simply not going to be existent. The best option on the waiver wire is Kirk Cousins. Like, we can't go to the waiver wire for anything here. Going over to running back, we have, which absolutely sucks. Like, you're in a 20-team league, and if J.J. McCarthy turns out to be bad, okay, well, you lost. Right? There's nothing you can do about it. You lost. Running back, we have Pollard. Honestly, I'm fine with having as my RB1 in a 20-team format. 10-team league, if he's your RB1, you should be crapping your pants. 20-team league, it's okay. Trey Benson, Algier. So essentially we get an injury to James Conner or to Bijan Robinson. We have the best running back room in the league, but for now, extremely weak. Wide receiver, Puka, DJ Moore, Shaheed, actually a solid flex play in a 20-team format. And then tight end, we have Trey McBride and Isaiah Likely. So, and then the waiver wires, not great. So here's what I would do with this team. In the long term, yes, I would go ahead and as much as it pains me to say, I would be looking to sell Trey McBride. The reason being is I think you will need to bolster your depth at running back. And I think if we are looking at putting players inside our starting lineup, when we actually do have Isaiah Likely healthy, I would rather have Likely as my tight end than Trey Benson as a running back I have to start every week. So I'm not going to sell Trey McBride right now. But once we get Isaiah Likely back in Baltimore, I then at that point will go through and I will try to sell Trey McBride. Let me give you the list of running backs that I'd be looking to move off of him for. The running backs that I'd be willing to sell him for would be anybody inside the top 11 of our rankings. Actually, those are the wrong ranks. Anybody inside the top 11 of these rankings. So obviously, if you could get a tier 1 player, you would. You probably can't. I would sell McBride for Achane, Jacobs, Chase Brown, Bucky, Taylor, Genty, or CMC. Anybody inside the top 11 at running back, we're running with. But again, I don't necessarily know if you want to be doing that right now. I think you have to wait until we get Isaiah Likely back in. But let me send you over some free questions. That way, once you do have Likely back in, we have a better idea and a better idea of what the landscape looks like. I'd be happy to reevaluate this. But I think you leave it for now. Once Likely comes back, then yes, you sell McBride. You go get a comfortable running back. You can start every week. But it's a decent team in a 20-team league. But again, it's just going to be so tough to win a 20-team format. Now, Z Leon coming through says, liked my draft, dropped Braylon Ollie for some wide receiver backups, kept BRJ. Any ways to improve this? Waiver wire suggestions. Trades aren't normally a thing in my league, but trying to make it happen. Love the content. Thank you so much for the help. Congrats on the engagement. Week 1 sucked, but I have hope. Congrats. Thank you so much, my friend. And definitely excited to check this out for you. I know you're always hanging out with us in the stream. So this is Stavros Greek Meats. We are currently 7th in the league analyzer. Not the best. Quarterback, we have Baker Mayfield. In a 10-team format for Baker Mayfield to be our quarterback, not that excited. But tight end, we have Brock Bowers. And again, this is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So in general, I really like having the elite quarterback. In general, I really like having the elite tight ends. So really like having Bowers, but with Bowers missing practice, you are going to have to prepare yourself for a different tight end starter this week. And if I was looking at a different tight end starter this week, I think the best names on the waiver wire for you would be Kincaid and Kyle Pitts. Speaking of the engagement, I need to text the fiance to bring me some water. So I would go ahead, and if Darnell Mooney looks to play, I would cut Kayshon Boutte for Dalton Kincaid. If it looks like Darnell Mooney is going to miss, then I would go for Kyle Pitts instead. Now, looking at the options that we have at quarterback, it's not like we have somebody we can pick up that's better than Baker Mayfield. But again, in general, in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, I would opt to try to upgrade QB if we can afford it. Running back, we have 2 guys we're comfortable starting every single week with Gibbs and Brees. We have the quality like handcuffs down there on the bench. We're like, yeah, Jordan Mason, Trey Benson, technically you could start them with the healthy back in front of them, but the reality of the situation is you would rather not. But if you do get that injury to whoever's in front of them, then at that point, they do turn into a legitimate league winner. Then looking at what we have at receiver, Drake London's good to go. We have Evans. We have DJ Moore for the flex. We have Judy and Hollywood as well. So we don't have a ton of expendable value. Like, I would love to tell you, like, yeah, let's go through and let's sell DJ Moore and Baker Mayfield, and let's try to get the elite level quarterback. And I have good news for everybody here. It looks like the Flock League video is about to premiere. So I know that y'all were asking for when the Flock League video is going to be out, and it is dropping now. But I'll keep giving a bunch of free questions in this live stream. So I'd ask kindly that you stay hanging out with me, and we'll get you some free questions. But real quick. So I would love to tell you, let's trade a wide receiver and let's get an elite quarterback. But the wide receiver depth, I'm not super comfortable with this team. Like in a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, I don't want DJ Moore to be my wide receiver 2 and Jerry Jeudy to be my wide receiver 3. So the optimal strategy of this league would be like, hey, is there a world in which we can sell Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield and go get ourselves a true elite level QB? But that's probably not happening here. I would send the offer right now for Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield to see if we could get to Lamar Jackson, to see if we could get to Josh Allen, with the expectations that that's going to get rejected. And if you feel good, you could consider, if you feel good about starting DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy, or Hollywood Brown, you could consider going down to the tier of Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, which is still not super likely to get done, but a little more possible. And then again, no matter what, I think you got to cut Kayshon Boutte. I think you have to pick up a tight end, whether that's going to be Kincaid or Pitts. I think that's going to hinge on what you have specifically with the Darnell Mooney injury and where Kyle Pitts will stack up in the target totem pole. And then outside of that, I don't think we're doing anything else. Actually, I would cut Brian Robinson for Byshell Tootin. And then depending on worthy status, I would also consider cutting Hollywood for Josh Downs. But I think that's all I got for you, my guy. I really do appreciate you. And let me pull back up everyone so we can give out some free questions on the stream. So if y'all have not done so already, go down and to qualify for some free questions in this live stream, all you got to do is hit the like button, be subscribed to the channel, and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. So hit the like, subscribe to the channel, and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. Okay. And then also one thing is, y'all can tell, I broke my microphone stand like 6 months ago. I don't exactly know how long ago it was, but it was pretty late. Um, so how's my mic? Like, is it weird when I just lean it against my chest like this? Is it fine? Like me moving around a bunch? Is it bad? But anyway, we got Papa Foxy. Let me send you over a free question, my friend. Papa Foxy. Actually, I can't find you. I can only find you on flockfantasy.com if you use code FLOCK. Darth Sidious. Let me see if I can find you. Darth Sidious. I cannot find you either, so we're going to have to move on. KB123. Just found you. Just sent you over a free start sit. Dude, it's Devin. Just found you and just sent you over a free start sit as well. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us in the chat. Let's move over and let's get this going for our next team, which is Ricky Stanicky. Here, this is a team review. It says, Mace Daddy, what do I do? Congrats on the engagement. Thank you. Wife and I have been watching your channel for 3 years. Not going to lie, crashing out a little bit. Auction draft, 5-man bench, no IR. Went for a balanced team. Loveland on the waiver wire, going to drop 5% fab on. I'm worried about running backs, tight ends because of Walker Kittle. Okay, yeah, you must be in a world of pain here. What's very impressive, real quick, to point out, is in a auction draft for the league analyzer to say that your league is this balanced. It's very impressive, and it speaks to probably the competition that you're going up against. Your league mates know what they are doing here effectively. Now, let me send you over some free questions, and we are near the bottom of the league analyzer, which would be the expectation, right, if we get the Kittle injury right out the gate. And then also we have Kenneth Walker maybe banged up or maybe just losing his job. We'll see. So quarterback, we have Jaden Daniels. So we have the elite name we can start every single week. This is a league in which you can start up to 4 wide receivers weekly. So the skill positional depth does matter a little bit more. Now, looking at what we have at running back, we have Amari Hampton, Kenneth Walker, RJ Harvey, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. So if this was a best ball draft, I'd be super pumped, right? I'd go, oh, out of these 4 running backs every single week, you're probably going to get some pretty good weeks out of them. But here, when you are actually having to determine who you put inside your starting lineup, it actually is going to be much, much tougher. Now, long-term, I think your running back room is going to be good. Long-term, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt will continue to expand his role. RJ Harvey will continue to expand his role. Going over to receiver, we have T. Higgins, Ted McMillan, Terry McLaurin, Travis Hunter. So Travis Hunter, long-term, will expand his role. Ted McMillan, long-term, will probably get better as all these rookies do. I know week 1 must have just been crushing with T. Higgins not scoring any points, Kenneth Walker falling flat, George Kittle getting injured. Going over and looking at what we have for potential waiver wire pivots, I don't really see any. Like, technically, I would rather have Brandon Ayuk over Kayshon Boutte rest of season, but the issue is, if we are looking at your team specifically, it's like, hell, we already have so many of these rookies. Like, our issue with the roster is not necessarily short-term. It's more long-term centric. And then with the injured George Kittle as well, it's going to be tough. And then looking at what we have with tight ends, I know you're mentioning picking up Loveland, and this is such an interesting spot, right? Because realistically, I have Loveland ranked over Juwan Johnson rest of season. But with that being said, if you have no Kittle, I don't care about the long-term upside. I need somebody to start right now. And in my weekly rankings this week, I'm going to have Juwan ahead of Loveland. So if I'm looking across this team, what could you do? I think that you are kind of stuck as is, waiting for a lot of these rookies to break out, waiting for George Kittle to come back from his injury. Depth's a requirement in this league. I think naturally your team's going to get better as time goes on. I will say, if you're in a spot in which you fall to 0-3, right? You lose the next 2 weeks. Then at that point, you are going to have to do a fire sale on some of these long-term pieces. If you fall to 0-3, you need to sell Kittle immediately. If you fall to 0-3, you may have to look at somebody like RJ Harvey that'll be really good in the second half of the season and go, you know what? I have to get off of him and go add him with another piece like Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt to go get a player like Chuba Hubbard that I can start right now. But I wouldn't be doing that right this second. I think right this second, you're much better off instead holding on to your team, letting it get better as time goes on. I really like the construction of it. But I think that's all I got for you. I really appreciate you. I wish I had a bunch that I could tell you. I sent you over some free questions, but again, I think the injuries just kind of devastate the team where you are going to have to just wait for these guys to come back and healthy and wait for the rookies to break out. And Ricky, I see that you're in the chat right now. Could you please let me know, do you have any additional questions about that? I know you mentioned that you were planning on dropping Juwan for Loveland. And while I agree, I think Loveland's way better in the long term. Since you just need somebody to start in the short term, I think for you specifically, I would just rather keep Juwan Johnson. But yeah, Ricky, please let me know in the chat right now if there are any additional questions that you have as we look at our next team. But I'll be keeping my eye on the chat. But ePiz with our next one says, thanks for the advice. With the depth I have at running back, especially with Henderson now and the news about Judkins, what moves can I make either from the waiver wire or trades that could improve the team? Also, should we stream a tight end? Never been big on the elite tight ends. So this is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, right? So with this being a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, the skill positional depth is not going to be that important. If I was going to roster a bunch of running backs or roster a bunch of receivers, I would definitely opt to roster a bunch of running backs, because with a lot of those bench RBs, if you were to get an injury to the starter in front of them, then all of a sudden they could turn into a legitimate league winner, right? If we're looking at the quarterback and tight end position, in my opinion, with your league settings, these are going to be very important positions to try to work, because you can only get in a total of 5 combined running backs and wide receivers into your lineup. Now, looking at what we have with Kyler Murray, looking at what we have with Hunter Henry, they aren't the worst quarterback tight end combos in the world. Are they super exciting? Not necessarily. We have Jared Goff at quarterback. If we were to want to roster a second quarterback, I think you could drop Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford's the easy drop here. You are dropping Jerome Ford right this second, now that Judkins is back. And at the same time, we had Jerome Ford just looking horrendous week 1, and this offense is going to be garbage. So drop Jerome Ford. I would consider picking up Jared Goff off the waiver wire to play matchups there at quarterback. Or you could consider picking up Ray Davis as the premium handcuff, or if anything were to occur to James Cook, then all of a sudden Ray Davis turns into an every week starter. Looking at who we're going to be starting this week at running backs, maybe a little bit shaky in comparison to long term, because this week I think you're actually going to be playing Chuba Hubbard and Javonte Williams. But with that in mind, it's not like these are the running backs that I'm most excited about for the rest of the season. I think you are going to have like Trevion Henderson and Kenneth Walker continue to expand their role as time goes on. And then going over and looking at what we have at wide receiver, we have Jefferson, Brian Thomas, Devonta Smith. So we have 3 quality starters. We have Khalil Shakir. I like that we're not rostering too much wide receiver depth in our league settings. It does look like the waiver wire is extremely thin there. So the reality of the situation is, I think this running back room, you're just going to have to wait for a couple guys to emerge. You're taking a lot of shots. You're having to hopefully see 1 or 2 of them sink. I can't tell you exactly who it's going to be. I can tell you that Chuba Hubbard and Javonte are going to be my starts right now. And I would go ahead and I would cut Jerome Ford, and I'd probably pick up Jared Goff to play the matchups going into the future with Kyler Murray. But Outside of that, I like your team. I like the amount of running backs that we're rostering in comparison to receiver. Long term, I would like the idea of upgrading tight end, but frankly, to be honest with you, I just don't think your team's strong enough. But I really do appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way. Now we're going to move this over for Slick Ricky. And it looks like we are super caught up on questions, which I feel really good about. And we are going to be live streaming all the way until kickoff. So these 3 are Dynasty. So I only have 5 more redraft teams to get through, and we have no start-sit questions or trade questions in right now. So I'm going to go ahead and I will turn back on the team reviews, trade questions, start-sit questions, and super messages on the site. So we will turn back on all the questions. They'll probably be on for the next 10 to 15 minutes if anybody wanted to get one in. Now, Slick Ricky says, tell me how to make this team better. Should we pivot off of Tyreek? So we are the #1 team, or actually, no, we're not. So super tough to look at this because our team name is Slicky Ricky. But I'm sorry, that's our flockfantasy.com name. However, our team name is Seal Team Knicks. So here's what I'm going to do. Slick Ricky, if you're in the chat, let me know which one of these teams is you. Is it Seal Team Knicks or is it Slick Rick? Because I'm actually going to skip by that review until we get confirmation because I don't want to look at the wrong team. But Celeres, this is a half PPR double flex format where there are only 10 teams in the league. And this is the team of destiny. My friend, if you are going to rock the team of destiny, you need to be ready to crush. And hell, just like the true team of destiny, you also have Josh Allen. Love to see it. With Allen, obviously, we're not needing to roster another quarterback, so we can focus in on rostering those high upside running backs, high upside wide receivers. So after Josh Allen, we have CMC and Achane. I actually think that you are going to get a small bounce back with Achane in the overall Miami Dolphins offense, which I'm excited about. We have Breece Hall as our running back 3. We have Judkins, Brian Robinson down at the very bottom end as well. So I really like what we have at running back, especially in a half PPR format where that position is going to be a slight advantage over wide receiver in the flex spots in comparison to a full PPR league. And then going over to receiver, we have Tet, Adams, Terry, Olave, Chris Godwin, Josh Downs, and Kayshon Boutte. So again, if this was a best ball league, I think you'd feel great about this because you're going to get some of these random spike weeks in at wide receiver. But the issue is going to be if we're looking at what we have specifically when it comes to getting players into our starting lineup. Once Chris Godwin comes back, you're going to be starting like Godwin, Tet, Adams, and then we're benching Terry and Olave. And if we get like a spike from one of the wide receivers on our bench, and then somebody's going to fall flat, like I think that we just have too much wide receiver depth here, even in a double flex format. But I don't necessarily think that we need to upgrade tight end because we are sitting with Tyler Warren currently. I don't necessarily think we need to upgrade at running back. We have CMC, Achane, and Breece. We don't need to upgrade a quarterback because we have Allen. So really the only thing that I would possibly try to do here is I'll try to make a 2-for-1 deal where we can upgrade a wide receiver at the top end. Like, is there a world in which we can sell like Tet McMillan and Chris Olave and move up to Ladd McConkey, move up to AJ Brown? I do the same thing by selling Devontae Adams and Terry McLaurin in a 2-for-1 deal because the fact of the matter is no matter what, you're going to have wide receivers like Olave on your bench because you have that running back you can put into the flex every week regardless. So if I were to look at this, I'm probably going to go ahead and just try to make the simple 2 wide receiver up tier for 1 trade. I don't see anything else that you would need to do on this team. I really like it. But yeah, thank you again. Really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. But Sessa says, Slick Ricky here. My fantasy team name is Seal Team Nick. Sorry for the confusion. No, I'm sorry, my friend. I just wanted to triple check. I know the website told us your name was Seal Team Nicks. I just didn't know if the website had it wrong because again, yeah, obviously the names are very similar, but excited to dive into this regardless for you. Now, looking at what we have with these league settings, this is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So the skill positional depth here matters a hell of a lot less. So I like having the elite quarterback. I like having the elite tight end if it's a possibility. We have Lamar Jackson. So obviously extremely excited to build around that. We're not going to have to roster a backup QB. Looking at what we have at running back, we have the worst running back room in the league, which is going to be the number one concern for us, especially in a league where you can only start 2 wide receivers in a flex. The fact of the matter is, I think you're probably going to have to make a trade upgrade a running back. If we could find a way to upgrade to a running back 1, which I think you have the pieces for, based on the wide receiver depth on your team, where you can only start 2 receivers in a flex, I think that there's a clear trade here for us. And for me, I think that trade would be centered around if we could possibly trade like Egbuka and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. So if we can go through and find a team that could use Egbuka and needs the wide receiver help, let's go for it. Looking at what we have at wide receiver, this team down here at the bottom is Rashee Rice, currently suspended. So Xavier Legette for the time being is their wide receiver 3. Cecina says we can start 3 wide receivers. So are you saying it's a league in which you can start up to 4? Because what I'm saying is it's a league where you start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. Please let me know in the chat. Is it a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex? Because if it's a 3 wide receiver, 1 flex, then nope, nothing I'm saying matters and your team's perfect and we roll with it as is. Because then in that case, you're starting Lamb, Sutton, Egbuka, Tyreek Hill. Doesn't matter if we're that week at running back, that week at tight end, we're rolling regardless. But if we could go through and if we could trade Egbuka to this team here in a deal with like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and try to find a way to get up to Josh Jacobs, I think that would be an absolute no-brainer. Now, obviously, they're going to have to be drinking the rookie Kool-Aid if they're going to be willing to make that trade. This team right here above them has Chris Godwin out, so it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, Harrison, and then like Matthew Golden's their wide receiver 3. I would offer them the same thing. I would offer them Egbuka and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, see if we can get up to Chase Brown. And Cecina says, oh, it's a league where we can start up to 4 wide receivers weekly. Super interesting. Well, in that case, thank you so much for letting me know that, because in reality, I think you actually are much more excited about this now. So if we're looking at what we can do in that case, I think you just hold on to the wide receivers. I think you more so try to optimize for the waiver wire pivots. And if we were looking at what we have over with the waiver wire, I think the main thing that you're going to have to do with Evan Ingram being banged up and Evan Ingram maybe not being viable in the first place is I think you're going to have to find a way to upgrade at tight end specifically. Like if we can get Harold Fane and Juwan Johnson onto this team, I would have prioritized them on the waiver wire over Kayshon Boutte. Even if I Boutte ranked them over like 1 spot over the other guys, your wide receiver room is so strong. We have the number 1 wide receiver room in this league. However, we have one of the worst tight end rooms in the league. So I would drop Boutte and I'd pick up Harold Fannin or Juwan Johnson. If Evan Ingram looks like he's going to play this week, which he's been at practice, in that case, I would pick up Harold Fannin for the long-term play. However, if you don't think you can trust Evan Ingram this week, I would rather start Juwan Johnson this week. So in reality is, if you're telling me you can start 4 wide receivers weekly, I love how you built your team. I think you're in a phenomenal spot. I would not make any trades. I would just make the one simple pivot where we are dropping Boutte and we are picking up a tight end. But I think that's all I got for you. I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, let me know if there are any additional questions that you have with this team. I'd be super happy to follow up with you. B&B says, Chris Rodriguez out. Is that good news, Mason? Yes. Obviously, Chris Rodriguez being out is good news for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. But with that being said, I will make sure that y'all are a little hesitant in starting Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Because we are already assuming that you are not going to have Chris Rodriguez at this point, right? They already made him a healthy scratch week 1. If you are looking to start Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, these are the current underdog projections for him. Right now, they have him higher, lower 38.5 rushing yards, higher, lower 2.5 receiving yards, higher, lower 8.05 fantasy points. So this will be your expectation. I would not start him this week. It's a really tough matchup going up against the Packers. B&B here saying Terry or Bill, who do I start? You for sure go with Terry McLaurin, 100%. But let's move this back, and I'm going to turn back on questions real quick. Okay, we're going to move back over. Let me get to some of the quick questions, and we'll go back to the team reviews. Okay, Hoscat, running back, we are looking at Travis Etienne, an absolute auto start. Wide receiver, I'm going to go with Mike Evans over Garrett Wilson. And then for the flex between Hampton and Wilson, it is close. With this being a full PPR format, though, I'd probably go Wilson. But Hampton would be a very viable play there as well. Now, J. Tom with our next question. We have Jared Goff, Jordan Mason, Trevion Henderson, Matthew Golden, and T. Higgins versus Mahomes, Breece Hall, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Goff to Mahomes upgrade, Trevion to Breece upgrade, Higgins to Amon-Ra St. Brown upgrade, and you're paying Jordan Mason and Matthew Golden to get it done, for sure, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take Mahomes. Cecina says, Mason, given my team, which running back should I start going forward? Let me pull that up one more time. I can actually pull that up on my phone because I can just rewind on the stream real quick. I think running backs, you're probably going to have to be kind of going back and forth. Like I said, I agree that running back 2 is weak for you, but it just makes up a smaller percentage of your starting lineup output weekly in your league format. I would be planning on going with Aaron Jones this week. And then probably long-term here, you're looking at Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. My concern is I think you have a really tough matchup for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt this week. Okay. Now, here for J-Dub with this next question. We need a flex. We have Kenneth Walker, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, DK Metcalf. I'm going to go ahead. I will take DK Metcalf in the revenge game in a full PPR format pretty easily. Now, 1202 Parker. Quarterback, give me Bo Nix over McCarthy. Running back, we're going to go Jacobs, Kamara as auto starts. Wide receiver, Evans, Chase being auto starts. And then for the 2 flexes, you may have to be on the lookout for Bowers. If we are looking at Brock Bowers specifically, he did not practice today, so I would just monitor the waiver wire for potential interesting tight end. And then looking at what we have for the 2 flex spots, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to play the combo of Cortland Sutton. And if Dallas Goedert misses, Devonta Smith. If Dallas Goedert plays, Javonte Williams. Now, Devil Axe here, tight ends. Give me Britton Strange over Loveland this week. I just don't think you can start Loveland this week specifically. And then Travis Etienne and Amari Hampton will probably be my plays, actually. I'll probably bench the wide receiver in the flex. Michael with the start sit. Here we need a running back. Pollard looks like he's going to have a 3-down workload. For wide receiver, give me a Buka over Tet for this week. And then down there in the flex, I'm probably going to go Tet over Ricky Pearsall with no Brock Purdy. Now, Gritty Gretz is Guillotine League. 9 out of teams left. Any help? Thanks. Appreciate you, my friend. Guillotine League, we're looking for a high floor if we can get one. I think we go with Terry McLaurin down here. I hate the matchup. Obviously looked bad week 1, but I do think that he could get... and then going through and looking at the other play, I don't necessarily know if we have a high floor option. If I had to pick somebody, I'm probably going to be going with Trevion. But I'm definitely not excited about that, to say the least. Now, Jovan, here at wide receiver, give me Tet McMillan over Zay Flowers. And in the flex, I'm going to go Flowers in a PPR format over Bill. Again, Ja'Cory Cross-Camara, really tough matchup this week. So I think you should be excited about him long-term, but at the same time, I don't know. I think this week against the Packers, it's going to be tough. Now, John says, super weak at running back and have Johnson in for Kittle. So rough week 1, please help. I'm going to go Bo Nix over McCarthy. Running back Connors and auto start against the Panthers. Wide receiver Brian Thomas for sure. And then I'm going to go with Egbuka. I understand that it was a really bad week with Jamar Chase and Brian Thomas, but you got to go right back to the well. And I think, honestly, your team could be the highest scoring team in the league this week. I think a lot of those players that you have are just in line for a massive, massive bounce back. Now, Little Mahomie says, Worthy limited, hesitant on Brown now. And what about the JCM hype? So Worthy's not going to play this week. I'll go Mahomes over Fields regardless. Tight end Laporta regardless. And then Worthy, I think him practicing today is really encouraging for him to come back sooner rather than later. But do not expect Xavier Worthy to play this week specifically. I would be shocked if that ended up happening. And then for the flex spots, I think you're going to have to go ahead. I think you're going to have to take the combination of Breece Hall and I'm going to go Hollywood Brown over Ja'Cory Cross-Camara. Again, with the expectations that you're not going to have Worthy playing. Okay. Now, let's move this over to our next question. This is Giovanni, says JCM this week or double stack with Benson and Connor. I think you have to go Josh. Oh, dear God. No, you play Ja'Cory Cross-Camara over Trey Benson for sure. Again, hate the matchup. Hate the fact it's not going to have the receiving role, but still, you got to go with it. Carlos says redeem yourself after last week. Where did I tell you to start last week? Oh, we're going to go Pollard here for sure in the flex. But I think you're in a really good spot. I understand that Brian Thomas and Nico Collins absolutely crushed our lineup last week. But in reality, they're still going to be must-start guys every single week. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take Tony Pollard. I see people saying $93 fab dollars on Tootin's insane. I'm not going to argue with you. I think I put $12 on him. Hey, let me know in the chat real quick. How was the new Flock League video? I was looking at it on my phone as it was premiering. I see the top comment is $123 for a 17-minute phone call is crazy. What is that in reference to? Did somebody make like a phone call for $123 in the video? Jason says elite video. Let me know what the Travis says saving the Flock League video for later. I'm for sure. Brian says 11 more likes, y'all. Let's get to 1,000. Once we hit 1,000 likes, we'll be giving away a bunch of free questions in the chat. So yeah, go down there and hit that like button if you have not done so already. Colin says, can't believe you traded away Ja'Cory Cross-Camara. I liked the price that I got. My team is the #1 team in the league. I have the highest projection of any team in the league this week, and at the same time, I'm #1 in the power rankings on flockfantasy.com. So I think I have the best team in the league. I like the price that I got. And if y'all want to see what I traded Ja'Cory Cross-Camara for, and y'all want to see a real negotiation go down, I will show you how to get there. Just search Flock League on YouTube, and there's a new video that just dropped. I'm going to watch it after this live stream. It says Mason trades Bill Krosky Merritt. But yeah, I mean, I'm not giving away any spoilers because that's the title of the video, right? You know what it is. But LB, this is Travis Hunter versus Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt and Matthew Golden. This is a league in which depth does matter a decent amount, and we only have 3 running backs. So if you only have 3 running backs, I'm completely fine with this price tag. Is it my favorite thing in the world? Probably not. But we'll go for it. Now, Schleimy says, giving Allen, my first draft of the year was awful. So Allen to London, slight downgrade. Adams to Hurts, upgrade. Keenan to Wandale, who cares? Wide receiver before this, we have Neighbors, Adams, and Keenan. So I think that this is a fair trade and it is going to be up to you. If you're in love with London, I'm not going to fault you for making it. And maybe I'm just biased because I have Josh Allen on my own team, and Allen coming through in a big time way for us last night really saved me. But I'm sorry, not last night, Monday night. So maybe I'm biased here, but there are a few players that I'd rather have over him in fantasy at this point. And I'm going to go turn off these questions on the site real quick so I can catch back up. We'll turn them on in a second. But Heaven says, I did a start sit yesterday, but I forgot to set my lineup. Okay. Justin Herbert's running back. We're going to go Chase Brown. Wide receiver, JSN and A.J. Brown are auto locks. Tight end, we go Loveland over Kittle. And then for the flex, we're going to go with DeAndre Swift, where there's not another running back to have a carry in Chicago this past week. AD Fantasy trading Kyron Dobbins Evans for Roman Jefferson. This is going to be just Jefferson for me. I don't think it's going to be that far off. I mean, that close either. Our running back room is actually bad. Now, no, we have Jacobs. If you have Jacobs and McCaffrey, you can for sure afford to make this deal to go get Justin Jefferson in a 10-team league. Okay, so let's refresh this. Ryan says we just hit 1,000 likes. Let me give away some free questions in the chat. All you got to do to get free questions is 1, hit the like button on this live stream. 2, be subscribed to the channel. We are on our way to 300,000 subscribers. And 3, drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat right now. We'll go ahead and find some of y'all to give free questions to. And we're going to be live all the way until kickoff, right? So we're going to be giving out a bunch of free questions as we always do. Okay, we got Momless Formation. I know we tried to find you earlier, but we couldn't. I don't know if you added code FLOCK to your account. I still cannot find you. Mig D Money. Just found you and just sent you over a free start sit. Really appreciate you. Muncher 22. Just found you and just sent you over a free start sit as well. Really appreciate you sticking with me. And yeah, thank you for everybody hanging out with us in the live stream. And let's go ahead and let's start answering some more of these questions. We got Orange Coliseum with our next one here. Says, I might trade JSN for Bucky. Is that good? If it's an 8-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex where the wide receiver depth doesn't matter at all, yeah, I'm completely fine with you going through and for you making that deal. And looking at what we have with our team right now, I mean, you are absolutely loaded. I would honestly start JSN over ETN in the flex, though. I would actually trade for an elite level quarterback if you can with your team being so loaded. Okay. Now, Condemned with our next question. Running back, we're going to go with Kamara, Ginty as auto starts. Wide receiver, give me Neighbors and T. Higgins. And then for the 2 flexes, this is where things are maybe going to get a little tougher. I'm going to go Shakir. And I would still go Stephon Diggs over Booty personally. I think that we should probably expect Diggs to expand his role next week. Now, Logan with our next one. This is Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt and DJ Moore versus Tyler Warren. I would rather have JCM and DJ Moore over Tyler Warren. If you can make that deal to get like Trey McBride, then obviously I'd go for it. Okay. K-Baked with our next one here. Wide receiver, we're going to go ahead and I will take Marv over Terry. And then for the flex, I'm probably going to go Devonta over Terry as well. Now that, yeah, no Dallas Goedert at practice. And it looks like you shouldn't expect Goddard playing this game. Now, Jay Susis has been watching for a while, 50-50 on this. Let me know. So this is Bucky, Marv, Boutte versus Brian Thomas, Trevion, and Tet. So let's go Marv to Trevion, downgrade. Bucky to Brian Thomas, downgrade. But we're effectively getting Tet McMillan for free. Right now, our wide receivers are Chase, Sutton, our running backs, actually, and Marv. So we have plenty of depth. Running back, you have, but I wouldn't do this. I don't think you need to pick up the extra starter, and I think you're probably downgrading at 2 spots. For me, I think based off the snap rate that we had from Bucky Irving week 1, I'm very comfortable saying that this is going to be a player that absolutely crushes. And obviously a little bit more nervous about Brian Thomas after what we just had. Okay. Now, Garrett says, also thinking of Igbuka for Trevion. I would rather have Trevion over Igbuka. Here, Gibbs versus Jacobs, give me Gibbs. Harvey versus JCM, give me, it's a coin flip, up to you. Don't really care much about Lawrence. So effectively, we're trading Gibbs for like to pick up. We're down, in my opinion, we're down tiering from Gibbs to Jacobs, and we're picking up Amari and Hampton for our trouble. Where if we weren't to do this, we'd have a great team as is. I think a lot of people should make this trade if they can. So if we were looking at what you should be doing in this case, for your league settings, I think it's a little bit different than what the average person should do. For your league settings specifically, I think we would rather have Gibbs. Now, Alley Cat with our next one. For the flex, I'm going to go ahead. Full PBR, I'm going to go Sutton. Actually, DeAndre Swift is a very compelling play. Again, with DeAndre Swift, he was the only running back in Chicago to log a carry last week. Is he great? No, but we'd probably still go with Sutton, though, because Sutton came through even in a bad Bo Nix game, and I think you get a better Bo Nix performance in the future. Now, stay me with our next question. A running back, I think we're going to go ahead. We will take Dobbins over Aaron Jones in the short term. Tight end, give me Laporta here easily. Then wide receiver, Higgins, Devonta Smith. And then in the flex, we're going to go ahead and we'll take Hollywood Brown over DJ Moore. Which I know in the rankings video today, it said DJ Moore ahead of Hollywood, but we've updated that on the site. I was looking at the projections for Hollywood. They're pretty damn good. Now, Brennan with our next question. Here at quarterback, give me Kyler over Love. Running back, give me Jacobs and Hampton. Wide receiver, give me Neighbors, St. Brown. Tight ends, I'll take Ferg. And then for the flexes, give me the combo of Sutton and Deebo Samuel. Jackson me off. Here at running back, we're going to take, I'm going to go Travis Etienne, highest over-under of any game this week, and he should have a 3-down workload. And then for the flex, I'm going to take Amari and Hampton. Great team. Walshy trading a future second. This is a Dynasty rookie second. This is not like a regular second-round redraft pick. Garrett Wilson, Trey McBride, Trevion for Genty and Neighbors. This is a very reasonable price point to go get Genty and Neighbors. Very reasonable price, and we're going to go for it. And Dynasty specifically. Tom says, should I sell Ionic Buka or Harrison? Running backs are McCaffrey, Taylor, Chubb, and Mahomes in a 12-team league. So if Igbuka was like your wide receiver 4, and you play in a 2 wide receiver 1 flex format, or if Igbuka's your wide receiver 3 and you have a solid wide receiver 4, I would look to sell Igbuka. I think Godwin's eventually going to come back. I think Igbuka is an incredible player, but I don't know if he can lead the team. And I think it's going to be a dispersed target share. I don't know if the offense is going to be as good as it was last year. So if you could sell Igbuka and Mahomes for a top 4 quarterback, one of the guys that has the elite rushing ceiling, I think I would go ahead and do so. Now, looking at potential trades in terms of swapping for a running back, if you could go like Chubb and Igbuka for like Breece Hall, James Cook, Amari and Hampton, I think that would also be a viable play. But for me, while I agree, I think Igbuka is a phenomenal player and set up in a really good spot, I think you do have some reasons to believe that he could be a sell high candidate. Now here, this Dynasty League, we have Geno as the play, in my opinion, over Stroud. Running back, give me Tracy over Ja'Cory. I know we're going to go Chuba Hubbard here easily. Tight end, I'm going to take Kincaid. And then for the flex plays, I'm going to go Travis Hunter and Hollywood Brown in a full PPR format over Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt. Again, really tough matchup for Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, and right now the projections are saying that he has no receiving role whatsoever. Now, no miss with our next one. Says, not sure who to start at quarterback due to Purdy injured. Have Dobbs at running back too as well. Quarterback, I'm going to go Goff over Lawrence. Then you're in a really big Lions bounce back. I'm going to go Javonte over Kenneth Walker. And then for the flex plays, give me the combo of J-Mo and Devonta Smith. But I think you could play Jacoby Myers over J-Mo if Bowers ends up missing. Now, your friendly neighbor with our next one. Right now, down on the bench, we have Travis Hunter, and I probably leave him there. We have Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt as well. And again, the higher lower on Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt on Underdog right now is like 3.5 receiving yards and 8 fantasy points. So for me, I don't think I can start Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt. Not this week, not in this matchup. I think in the future he can be much better. I think in the future he probably expands his role. But for the time being, I think you're better to just kind of leave him on the bench and hope that he continues to get better. Skittles Hell says, this is my first year playing fantasy. Am I cooked? Let's check it out. So running back 1, we have Genty. Running back 2, we have Kyron. Completely fine there. We have the elite quarterback Lamar. We have Chase. No, you have a great team. Devonta Smith there at receiver. We have Kelsey at tight end with the Chiefs injuries. And then for the flexes, I'm going to go Pickens. And this is the one team I think you can start Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt. But yeah, you have a great, great team. Do not worry about that at all. Now, Sam I-50 or Sam 150 here for the flex. We got James Conner and Hollywood Brown as our plays. I think you have to go Hollywood over Rome, Pittman, and Olave. Again, I had him ranked lower in the rankings video that came out earlier today, but if you look at the updated rankings on the site, I was just completely wrong when we made that rankings video yesterday. The projections are way higher on Hollywood Brown than I expected, so we had to move Hollywood up. Now, Ethan with our next question says, traded Shaheed for Pittman, so he is an option as well. I would rather have Waddle regardless. I know it sounds crazy, but right now, if you're looking at the matchups for the Colts, really tough this week, much, much tougher than last week. And also, the projections are telling us that we should expect we get a pretty big bounce back when it comes to the Miami Dolphins offense. Okay, now our next question is going to be coming out from Ankle Bully. Always happy to see you. We got Pollard, Dobbins, Downs, Keon versus Caleb, Higgins, Harrison. I'd rather have Harrison over Pollard. But then I feel like we're downgrading at all the other spots. What would we have left over at running back? We'd have Hampton, Bucky, Dylan Sampson. I think I'm going to go with the Pollard side of this. You're saying Trey Benson's on the waiver. Actually, I have Trey Benson's on the waiver wire. Then sure, you can go ahead and go this side. Just because if you're able to pick up Benson, then all of a sudden backfill the running back depth. But yeah, I would be like, the main thing is I don't want you to like be excited about starting, or not even starting. I don't want you to be excited about Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson may be nothing. The expectation should be like Dylan Sampson's committee back in the worst offense in the league at this point. But if we have like Trey Benson that we can bring in as additional running back depth there as well, I think we feel better about it. Okay. Now let me refresh this. See if we have any more quick questions to get through. We got a couple more, so let me answer these, and then we will give away some free questions. All you got to do to qualify for the free questions is drop a like on the live stream, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. But Obi-Wan says, do you think Henderson has more upside? No, he does not. You for sure go with Brian Thomas Jr. easily. I do not even care about your roster. Andres says, what should I do at quarterback? Jones, Penix, or go with one of these guys? Dear God. I think you could go Penix if you have Mooney good to go, because London's good to go as well. Running back, give me DeAndre Swift. Wide receivers, give me Tyreek and Jefferson. Tight ends, we may have to drop Cooper Kupp to go pick up a different tight end this week, or drop Tank Bigsby. And then for the flexes, we're going to go with Jalen Waddle and probably Quentin Johnston. I'm going to play Johnston over Kupp. Like, it seems like every best ball team I drafted Cooper Kupp on, it was just a complete waste of a pick. Now, Edie Castillo says, based on format roster depth, is this trade worth it? So it's a 14-team league. So obviously it's tougher in general to give up the additional starter. After you were to make this, you would have, your team is loaded. Yeah, you have to make this trade. I would say a lot of 14-team leagues, you'd probably prefer Lad McConkey and Devontae Adams and having the additional depth on this. But specifically for yours, you can't. You have to have Puka Nacua. Now, Adam says, you told me to start Ferg over Ertz. Should I do that even if I have Lamb? I'm not worried whatsoever about having two Dallas Cowboys pass catchers in the same lineup. Yeah, when it comes to like the only instance in which I would ever go like, oh, I need to consider the rest of your starting lineup when making a decision. If it's like a Monday night game where you're up big and you're like debating between, say, like the instance of, say you're up big in a Monday night game, whatever platform you're on says you have a 90% chance to win, and you have CeeDee Lamb, and then you're debating between Dak Prescott and Justin Fields. And hypothetically, the Cowboys and the Jets play against each other. There, in that case, you would play Justin Fields to just diversify some of your risk if you're already the heavy favorite. But I think we probably go ahead and I think we probably just play Ferg. Like if you're going into the week, you just play the best play. Cribble says, any trades to upgrade a quarterback? My friend, I can't see this without a roster review. I'm going to send you a free start sit question. But like if you send in a super message, I can't see any of your team. Well, let me mark that complete, and then we'll pull up the team reviews that we got to get through. And let me also send out some free questions. So these are the team reviews. I think the first one that we got to get is going to be the Jake Cook. But please spam the chat right now. What is your flockfantasy.com username? And we will get you over a free question. We'll pick a couple people to send them to. To qualify, all you got to do is be subscribed and hit the like button. Okay. We got Low Scout here. Let me send you the first one. I cannot find you on the site. You have to use code FLOCK on the site for me to find you. We got Grande Don. Just found you. And I just sent you over a free start sit. Hans Gruden. Just found you and just sent you over a free start set as well. Now, let's dive into this team for Jake Cook. 14-team league, so expectations should be this team's a little bit worse than the ones we've been looking at. Looking to possibly do something, trade in Nico and Stroud for Lamar and Sutton. Yeah, I would for sure do that, or Terry. Top 8 teams make the playoffs. Nothing really on the waiver wire because of the 14 teams. Any moves to make. So first thing is like looking at that potential trade, like Nico versus Lamar. They're similar to me. I'd probably rather have Nico. But then Stroud versus Sutton or Stroud versus Terry, I'd way rather have the wide receiver. So I think the points per game drop off is going to be larger from Lamar to Stroud than it would be from Nico to like Sutton. So I would rather have the elite quarterback there, if that makes sense. So yeah, go get Lamar and Sutton if possible. Now let's pull this team up. So we are the 3rd team in the league analyzer. Yeah, and looking at the waiver wire, it is bone dry. So this is a league in which you can only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, and we are loaded at receiver. Like the reason why we are so high in the league analyzer, you can tell, is we hit on a big time way in ETN and we hit on a big time way in Jackson Smith and Jigba. So looking at what we have a quarterback for the time being, we have Jared Goff and we have CJ Stroud. So obviously we can play the matchups between these two guys. If we're looking at what we have with the waiver wire plays, Sam Darnold would be the only viable quarterback pickup. No way in hell I'm dropping either Goff or CJ Stroud for Sam Darnold. So we definitely leave this as is. Then going over and looking at what we have at running back, we are currently sitting with Travis Etienne, RJ Harvey. So we have the anchor running back in a 14-team format. I'm a lot more excited about him. We have the upside play in the long term. We have Tracy that we can start in the short term. Charbonnet looks viable as well in a 14-team league. And then we have Caleb Johnson for the long term as well. So running back right now, definitely going to struggle, but the hope is that you get the expanded roles for RJ Harvey and Caleb Johnson as time goes on. And then wide receiver, I have no idea how we are not the number 1 team in the league, according to the league analyzer. We have Nico, London, JSN, Debo. And then tight end, we're okay with Kincaid. So if we were to look at this, the number 1 thing that we are going to try to do is try to get some value from one of these wide receivers. So that trade that you laid out is the perfect idea of what we're going for. So I'm in agreement. I think we go for that. And the alternative route that we could try is if you wanted to try selling JSN for one of those top 10 running backs, whether that's Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, Devon Achane. I think you could go ahead and try to make that play as well. And then honestly, in a 14-team format, the last thing that I'm going to be worried about is the tight end position. So I think we just get by with the combination of Kincaid and Brenton Strange. But yeah, I think this is a great team in a 14-team format. I think we try to make a trade that you're mentioning already, or instead you trade one of the receivers for a running back. But let me send you over some free questions and really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way there, my guy. I'll smooth this over to our next one. This is going to be from Funk Hugh. Says, I didn't get to draft this team. I was asked to take it over after the original owner quit. Okay. So we are 4th down syndrome. We are currently 5th in the league analyzer. We did start off 1-0 though, which is nice. This is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So with this being a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, you are in a spot in which having an elite quarterback is going to be great, and we don't necessarily care that much about the wide receiver depth. So when we're looking at what we have with this team, where we are rostering a total of like 8 wide receivers, there are very clear like just pivots that we are going to need to make when it comes to the wide receiver position with the waiver wire. So if we're looking at what we have with Leggett and Shaheed on the bottom end of this team, and a 10-team start 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, there's no world in which you ever get them inside your starting lineup. So I would go ahead and I would drop Leggett. I would drop Shaheed. I would go over to the waiver wire. And honestly, there is actually a wide receiver that I think you could pick up. I think you could pick up Hollywood Brown here. So drop Leggett for Hollywood. I would drop Shaheed for David Njoku. Am I super excited about Njoku? No, but I think we are pretty weak at tight end with Hunter Henry, so it's not like we're guaranteed to have the stud tight end. So drop Shaheed, drop Leggett, pick up Hollywood and Njoku, drop Brock Purdy and pick up Bo Nix. We really don't need the additional quarterback whenever we have Lamar Jackson, but realistically, looking at the options that we have when it comes to the waiver wire plays at running back and wide receiver, they aren't phenomenal. And I think that realistically, you get a couple of big weeks from Bo Nix like we had at the end of last season. He is somebody that we could get some value out of. So what else could we try to do here? I would like to try to sell a wide receiver and get a running back upgrade. Like, we definitely have the additional receivers. Like, if you could go like Keon Coleman and DeAndre Swift and somehow get to James Cook, Martin Hampton, Breece Hall, obviously we would go for that range. It's just going to be much easier said than done. So I think the easy trades that we for sure can make right now would be the waiver wire pivots. And if it wasn't for Judkins coming back in, I would take this one step further and say, let's drop Shakir for Dylan Sampson. But I think we stop you there. But I think that's all I got for you. I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out with this. Well, let's move this over to a longtime member of the flock, and it's Chavez. Says, hey, Mason, struggling at wide receiver 2 and running back 2. Any thoughts? I also have an offer to trade Hollywood for Pollard, but don't think I can take it since wide receiver is struggling. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at this. So we are 6th in the league analyzer. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So I like having the elite quarterback. I like having the elite tight end. They're going to make up a very high percentage of our starting lineup output. So when we have Jaden Daniels, when we have Trey McBride, I really like our starting points with this team. We have the anchor running back. We have the anchor wide receiver with Josh Jacobs and Jamar Chase as well. And then looking at the depth of the skill positional guys, they're not going to be that important because it is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. So let's go through and let's pull this up. Well, we have it running back. We have Ray Davis out there on waivers. I'm going to move Ray Davis back below Ramondre Stevenson in my rankings right now because I moved him up yesterday with the James Cook hamstring injury popping up, but that looks to be nothing at this point. So let me move Ray Davis down to the bottom end of that tier because I would definitely rather have Ramondre over him, so I don't think you make that change. Then looking at what we have at receiver on waivers. So for me, this is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, right? So while Cedric Tillman maybe has a higher floor and at the same time, like, he did have the strong week 1 performance when Jaden Higgins did nothing. The fact of the matter is, I think that you would prefer to have the ceiling case of Jaden Higgins, where I don't think Tillman could ever turn into an every week starter based off the quarterback play in Cleveland. So I would drop Cedric Tillman in favor of Jaden Higgins. You're never starting Tillman over like Downs, Hollywood, Golden. Your wide receiver 2 is more concerning than your running back 2, to be honest. And then if we wanted to upgrade our wide receiver 2, I think you're going to have to wait. It's going to be too late. We're too close to the game. But if Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt has a highlight play and doesn't get anything as a receiver, I think that he could be a potential sell high candidate depending on what happens tonight. So I think you could potentially look to try to sell Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt and Josh Downs, Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, Matthew Golden, Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, and Hollywood Brown to a locked and loaded wide receiver 2 that we can be excited about every week, like Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, or Cortland Sutton. But outside of that, I don't think we are doing anything with this. I think you make the waiver wire pivots, and yeah, you just got to cycle through the waiver wire for your running back, wide receiver. I like that we have the anchors here. Given your league settings, I think you really have optimized this quite well. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way here. I know you've been with us for a long, long time, my guy. And let me triple check. We had not sent you over. Let me send you over the free questions just in case there's anything that you want to follow up here with us. Okay, so now our next question going to be from Kyle Nita. I can't read. I'm sorry, my friend. This is the number one team in the league analyzer. This is an 8-team league. Let me send you over some free questions. So the main thing is, in an 8-team format, the only thing, and I repeat, the only thing that matters is us going through and us hammering 2-for-1, 3-for-1 deals every chance we get. Like, I do not care about the depth whatsoever. So looking at what we have on the waiver wire right now, you have Judkins, Joe Mixon, you have Josh Downs, Jaden Higgins, Brandon Ayuk. So again, the depth on waivers is compelling. This is a league in which we can start 4 wide receivers weekly, but the reality of the situation is our top 4 running backs are Bijan, Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, Travis Etienne. So we're going to start 4 running backs every week, and we are just going to start 2 receivers. So for me, the very easy play is going to be trying to sell a wide receiver and get an upgrade at either tight end or quarterback. Egbuka here in an 8-team league is not nearly as exciting as he would be in a 12-team format. So for me, if possible, I would love to go through and see if we could sell like Egbuka and Bo Nix and get to a top 4 quarterback. Is there any world in which we can go Egbuka and Bo Nix and get to Daniels and get to Jalen Hurts? In an 8-team league, I'd absolutely love to do that. What I would also love to do is try to sell Egbuka and George Kittle in a 2-for-1 deal where we can go out there and we can try to pick up like Trey McBride. So for sure, the thing that we need to be doing with this team, and it's not even a debate, is you need to try to sell Egbuka. You need to try to go through and pull him up with either Kittle or Bo Nix and upgrade at one of the onesies. You could say the same thing about Jamison Williams or Ricky Pearsall, but the fact of the matter is nobody's going to be excited to trade for those players in your league. Egbuka is really going to be the only guy that I think you could get that value out of. And then with Austin Eckler, there is no world in which you ever start him. Your team's too good. Kenneth Walker's your running back 5. So I don't care about the floor at all of our running backs. I would only care about the ceiling. So I'd cut Eckler for either Judkins or Joe Mixon. But I really do appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And yeah, we sent you over those free questions. So if there's anything else that you want me to follow up with, I'd be happy to take a look at it for you. But Torto at the door. Always happy to see you, my guy. Says, not too thrilled about this team. I know Trevion and Hampton will pick it up, but wondering if we should make a move or more of for an immediate impact. So we are currently 0-1. We had 89 points scored week 1, which sounds very low, but there are also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams in this league that went under 100 points. So it's not horrible. I guess it's just because it's a half PPR format. But here, the first thing that I'm going to see with your team is this is a roster construction that we just simply have to change. We are currently rostering 3 QBs with Justin Fields, Caleb Williams, and Brock Purdy. Looking at what we have with the Brock Purdy injury, if Purdy's not on your IR and he's actually on your bench, Brock Purdy is a super easy cut. We can't roster 3 of them. I would cut Brock Purdy and I would go and pick up Evan Ingram, especially with the Brock Bowers injury. That's a move that we're making right now. Now, looking at what we have at running back, we have 3 rookies and then somebody on the IR. So, of course, in the short term, running back's going to be a question mark. And I understand maybe wanting to make a play to bring in somebody with more of an immediate impact. I understand that Evan Ingram is also hurt. Evan Ingram's been at practice, though. Looking at what we have with the wide receivers and running backs on the waiver wire, there really aren't any. If we were to go through and if we were to try to sell a wide receiver to go get a running back upgrade in the short term, like looking at this, you have Jefferson, Devonta Smith, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, and our 2 flex plays are like Travis Hunter and Jalen Waddle, and then maybe Keon Coleman. So Keon and Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt are like the 2 players that we have on the bench right now that you could potentially say like, hey, these are value pieces we could get something for. But because this is a 12-team start 8 format, I actually think that you're going to need the depth. So, like, we went so heavy on the rookies here with Hampton, Henderson, Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt, and Travis Hunter. That realistically, I think that the only thing to do is be patient with your team. I would love to like try to cook up some trades and go like, oh yeah, no, we need to trade for a running back right now. I think in the long term, your team's going to be great. You just have to try to stay alive and be 2-2 by the time we get to week 4 when we start getting these rookies to really break out. Is there anything else that we can say with this team? I don't inherently think so. Again, cut Purdy, pick up Ingram. I think Evan Ingram's probably going to end up playing this week and Bowers won't based off the practice reports. And I just don't think you can get away with rostering 3 QBs. And with Purdy missing like 5 weeks, I don't think he's that much better than Fields or Caleb when he comes back anyway. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. And always, again, thank you so much for hanging out with us in the stream. Now let's move this over to our next one. This is Educator, but love hearing you sound it out. Thank you. Need to set and forget quarterback. We have plenty of wide receiver depth. Why am I hanging on to Godwin? You're chilling with Godwin, to be honest. Now, the thing with Godwin is obviously if you were to go through and sell him right now, you are selling him at a low point with him not playing. And Godwin's back at practice, and it looks like it's not going to be like, he's not going to be out forever, right? So when we're looking at this team, the very clear play is, of course, you need to sell a wide receiver. We have Puka, Nico, Sutton jammed into our lineup every single week. And then we have Metcalf, DJ Moore, Godwin on the bench. So the question is just, who can we get some value out of? Can we get value out of DK Metcalf? First offer I send out with this team is I'm offering everybody with an elite quarterback. That's the top 4 guys. I'm offering Metcalf and Kyler for Josh Allen. I'm offering Metcalf and Kyler for Lamar Jackson. I'm offering Metcalf and Kyler for Daniels and for Hurts. If they don't want Metcalf, I'm going to move my offer up to Courtland Sutton, where I know that technically Sutton's in our flex, but if we trade away Sutton, then all of a sudden just DK Metcalf slides into our flex, and no harm, no foul. So we're going to go through and we're going to offer Sutton and Kyler for Hurts, Sutton and Kyler for Daniels, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then if we're able to pull that trade off, then at that point, it will allow you to probably move on from Caleb Williams, cut him, pick up 2 premium handcuff backs like Ray Davis, as well as Rachaad White. And then the running backs that we have at the top are fine. Like Kyron Williams is a solid running back 1 in a 12-team format. Amari Hampton is a solid running back 2 in a 12-team format. Javonte Williams, quality running back 3. I mean, I'd like to build our running back depth out a bit more. We have the top end tight end. Hell, I'll take this one step further. If you can trade DJ Moore and Tyler Ward and go get Trey McBride, let's do it. Because the fact of the matter is, you don't exactly need DJ Moore here either if we have him currently on our bench and DK Metcalf on our bench as well and Godwin coming back in a few weeks. So the only thing that we could potentially tell you to do, like you already know, is could we go through and could we trade the depth receivers, whether it's Sutton, whether it's Metcalf, whether it's DJ Moore, with Tyler Warren to get up to a top 2 tight end with either McBride or Bowers, or with Kyler to go get to a top end elite quarterback. So, and then with the open roster spots, we backfill with guys like Ray Davis and Rashad White. But I think that's all we got for you. I mean, you have the number 1 team in the league analyzer. I think you have a really solid squad. You just got to try to transition some of this wide receiver depth into value at the onesies in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. Now, BD trades with our next one. Says, hey, Mason, I'm trying to make the team better. I want to sell Ibuka high and potentially trade for a tier S QB. I don't want to part with my running back room. I traded Kyron for T-Mac and Ridley for Rice. Don't like either of those. Actually, no, I like the Rice one. I don't like the Kyron one. How can I level this up? Love the content. Thanks. And the Lamar owner won't budge. Appreciate you, my friend. And I will say we are the number 1 team in the league analyzer. It's an okay deal to send Kyron for the receiver because you can start 4 wide receivers in this league. I definitely would have preferred us not to do it though. And looking at what we have at quarterback, we are currently sitting with Baker Mayfield as well as Kyler Murray. So with these 2 QBs, realistically, in this 10-team format, this is probably one of the worst group of quarterbacks that you could have, right? 12-team format definitely would be a lot better. Looking at what we have at running back, we have Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard. So we have 3 auto starts every single week at running back. And then we could say probably Pollard moves to the bench once you get Tajay Spears back in and the volume goes down. But for the time being, he's one of the few players that is seeing like a 90% snap rate. Then going over and looking at what we have at wide receivers. We have Chase, Tet, Adams, Ibuka, and then we have Rice in the long term, Godwin in the long term. So we have 4 wide receivers we can start every week. However, because we're jamming Pollard into the flex right now, I think it probably does make a lot of sense for us to just see if we can sell either Adams or sell Ibuka or sell Tet McMillan, any 3 of those wide receivers, and a deal with Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray to go get a top 4 quarterback. Like, that's the only move that you could make on this team. Side note with that, you're never going to start Darnell Mooney with how good this wide receiver room is. So if I'm chasing the highest ceiling possible, I would drop Darnell Mooney in favor of Matthew Golden, chasing the ceiling here. So I would drop Mooney, pick up Golden, and then I would try to trade Adams, Tet, or Ibuka, whichever one your league mate wants the most, for with Baker Mayfield for the top 4 quarterback. Because realistically, like, we have the additional depth right now, and in the long term, once we eventually get Rice and Godwin back in, this team's going to be even better. So I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. Let me make sure that we send you over some free questions. You do have the number 1 team in the league analyzer though. So like, you are in a really, really good spot in this league. But yeah, again, similar to some of these other teams, it just makes sense for you to move off of one of those receivers. Now, Dirty Milk and the Boys says, hey, Mason, won my league last year with your help. Looking to repeat. Been trying to trade for an elite RB with no luck. What else do you think we can do? Well, congrats, my friend. Really appreciate you. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, so I would love having the elite quarterback. I'd love having the elite tight ends. We are number 1 in the league analyzer here. This is very similar to the 2 teams that we just saw prior to this, where we are absolutely loaded up with wide receiver depth to the point where, like, the only option for us is to trade some of these wide receivers to go get either an upgrade at quarterback, upgrade at tight end, or an upgrade at running back. Going through and looking at the waiver wire options, like, the waiver wire quarterbacks are not good. You have Daniel Jones, Lawrence, Geno Smith. So for us to be rolling with Michael Penix, there's just no world in which we want to be starting Michael Penix at quarterback. And then we have Egbuka's our wide receiver 3, Rice is our wide receiver 4, Jamo's our wide receiver 5, Godwin is our wide receiver 6, and Addison is our wide receiver 7 in a league in which you can only start 3 receivers at the most. So this is a very, very easy eval, just like the previous 2 teams were, in that you have all the wide receiver depth in the world. You need to go out there. You need to make a play to either upgrade to an elite running back, which I know you already mentioned, but you're saying that you're having no luck there. So I think the instead move is you try to pivot to upgrading to the elite tight end or the elite quarterback. My first thing that I'm doing is I'm going to the teams with the top 4 quarterbacks in the league. Lamar, Allen, Hurts, Daniels. I'm trying to offer them Garrett Wilson and Michael Penix for one of those QBs. And when they reject, if they do, then I will follow up with the Josh Allen owner and the Lamar Jackson owner and go, I'll give you Drake London and Michael Penix for one of those QBs. Which maybe we're overpaying there slightly, but the fact of the matter is you can only start 3 receivers in this league and we have 7 viable ones. And then I would also explore a possibility of trying to go get Trey McBride or Brock Bowers, where I would go out there and I would offer Garrett Wilson and Kyle Pitts right now for Bowers and see if the Bowers owner is scared of the injury. Which Bowers is probably going to miss with the injury, but still, I think long-term, you'd just rather have that value. And then looking at the McBride team, I would offer them the same thing. Obviously, if they would rather have Egbuka, you give them Egbuka. But I'm assuming right now they would rather have Wilson. And then your running back room's fine. Chase Brown, RB1's good. Kyron Williams, RB2 is great. I would be more so concerned about quarterback and tight end. Like, we are ranked number 1 in the league at receiver, number 5 at running back, number 12 at quarterback, and number 11 at tight end. And this is a league in which I think the elite onesies actually give you a considerable edge. So that's where I'd be going. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way here, my guy. Now let's move this over to our next one. This is going to be from Taco Lord says, hey Mason, been watching the channel for a couple of years now. I won the league in 2022 and in 23-24 I made some money. And 2025, I like the way that my team looks. Let me know if there's anything you do. It's a super flex league. Okay, so if it's a super flex format, honestly, we're going to kind of ignore the overall ranking with the league analyzer, like where you stack up here, because it's pulling in 1 quarterback value formats. So what we would do instead is we would look positionally. So we're dead last at tight end. We are 3rd at receiver, 3rd at running back, and 9th at quarterback. First thing that I would say here is in a super flex league, I have to pick up Geno Smith. There is no way we can be rostering Michael Mayer here, even with the Brock Bowers injury, instead of Geno Smith in a super flex format. There are only like 2 starting quarterbacks on the waiver wire right now. You for sure need to be rostering 3 here in a super flex league. So, drop Mayer, pick up Geno, the immediate move, like right this second. If you're in this live stream right now, pause this stream and go do it and come back. Then going over and looking at what we have with the options at running back and wide receiver on the waivers, not super compelling. So I think we leave it as is. If we get another really strong performance from Harold Fannin, I think you could also look to go ahead and actually drop Zach Ertz for Harold Fannin after this week. But I'm not going to fault you if you wanted to wait one more week to just see that Harold Fannin is legit. Then looking at what we can do from there, it's going to be a start 8 Superflex league. So start 8 Superflex league means we're really only starting 3 receivers weekly. Come on, I'm coming. Or a better way to put that is going to be you're starting a total of 5 running backs / wide receivers every week. And gosh, y'all want to see the cutest thing in the world? Out here scratching on the door, trying to get inside. Look at her. Oh, were you protecting the house when the cops came earlier, huh? You were protecting us, right? There's a bad guy running around our neighborhood earlier and the cops had to come. But they weren't messing with this house because we got this one. This is a good protector. Okay. And here, so if it's a league that you're really only starting 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, and then you have the super flex, but putting a quarterback in there and every time, very similar to the other teams that we've just looked at, you got to sell a receiver. We have 6 startable wide receivers here. And realistically, based off how good Amari and Hampton is, I probably want Hampton in the flex. So realistically, you're probably only starting 2 receivers a week. So I'm going right now. I'm going to offer the Brock Bowers owner. I'm going to offer the Trey McBride owner. You're not going to get that for Sutton. It's awkward because you're going to have to offer London. And I'd rather have London over those tight ends right now. Maybe we go down tier. Maybe we offer the Laporta owner, Travis Hunter. We offer the Tyler Warren owner, Travis Hunter. Maybe Travis Hunter's higher in my straight up rankings, but the fact of the matter is with your team and your format, I think you would prefer Travis Hunter because then you could also go through and you could drop the backup tight ends and realistically have the open roster spot to pick up the third quarterback easily. And you could drop Zach Ertz. You'd have an additional roster spot. You can pick up Jaden Higgins. Then on top of that, if those tight end owners aren't interested, I think the next move is you try to go and trade for a top end quarterback. Like we see what we can to trade London and Justin Fields and go get one of those quarterbacks like that we talk about all the time that are in the top 4. Go get Hurts, go get Daniels, go get Lamar, go get Allen. And then we slide up those wide receivers. So this is, again, very, very similar. The majority of y'all's leagues, if it's a league in which you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, you can abuse the settings and you can go out there and you can trade wide receiver depth to get an improvement inside the starting lineup. You can go and try to attack the onesies. We don't necessarily need 6 startable wide receivers if you're only ever starting 3 at the very most. But with that in mind as well, anything else that we could look at with this team? Not necessarily. I mean, I think you have a great squad. I just think the thing that you have to do right this second is drop Michael Mayer and pick up Geno Smith in a Superflex league. Now let's move this over to our next question. This going out from FTW Jose. Says, hey, was wondering if I should try to trade for an elite QB like Lamar or Allen, or should we stick with Burrow for now? So this is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format where we are number 1 in the league analyzer and number 1 in the league at wide receiver. So my assumption as we pull this up is, yes, I'm going to want to try to trade for an elite quarterback. That's pretty much what we've told the past 4 teams in general. So as I go through and as we look at this, right now we have not only like the elite QBs, but they're not just a bunch of depth pieces. Like these are legit quarterbacks, right? I mean, wide receivers. We have CeeDee Lamb. We have Nico Collins. We have Ladd McConkey. We have Igbuka. And we have Chris Godwin. And again, it's a league in which you can only start 2 receivers in a flex. And you even have Calvin Ridley out there on the waiver wire currently. So the wide receiver depth here doesn't matter at all. 100% I am in agreement. Let's do what we can. Let's send Ladd McConkey, or let's, my initial offer to all these quarterbacks, all the teams with the elite QBs, I'm going to go, can I give you Igbuka and Burrow for Daniels? Can I give you Igbuka and Burrow for Hurts? Can I get Lamar? Can I get Allen? Running back, we have Bucky, we have Etienne, we have Swift, and then we have the rookies that are going to get better at the bottom end of the team. So one thing that I would do is just with the waiver wire pivots, like you can get freaking Caleb Johnson, Joe Mixon, Calvin Ridley for free on waivers. So that trade for the elite quarterback is a no-brainer and very similar to the other trades that we've discussed. I think we would probably try to go and get the elite tight end if possible as well. Like, is there a world in which we can try to go through and sell Ladd McConkey for Bowers? Ladd McConkey and Tucker Kraft for Trey McBride? Because if you were able to do that and you can just backfill with Calvin Ridley, like the drop off in points per game is not going to be massive, especially when you have a good enough running back room where you could eventually see yourself putting running backs in the flex. I would also offer DeAndre Swift and Joe Burrow for one of those elite QBs if they don't want a receiver, because then you could just go pick up Caleb Johnson for free. So yeah, you want to sell the depth with your skill positions, go and get the elite onesies. Again, we've seen this almost with 5 teams now, but all these teams are like the number 1 teams in the league in terms of total value on their rosters. And if you're in a league where the format favors like wide receiver depth, where you can start 4 or 5 wide receivers weekly, then that's great. But if it's a league where you can only start up to 3, you definitely need to transition some of those points from your bench into your lineup through the means of trading for an elite QB or trading for an elite tight end. But let's move this over to our next question. This one's coming out from Harvick. It says, hey, congrats on the engagement. Thank you, my guy. Been a long-time viewer, but wasn't really able to send much in. I'm in an auction draft, spent a lot on the bigger names, just trying to figure out trades for a quarterback or really any advice that you have. So if you're telling me we went studs and duds, I'm assuming the depth is not going to be great. And yeah, we look at this. So you're saying I can't trade with Kelsey, not number 1. Okay, good to know. And I'm going to assume that we do not need to start a tight end in our league, because we are not rostering a tight end. And at the same time, we see a couple other teams not rostering tight ends either. So I would say the overall league analyzer is not going to matter that much when it comes to just the straight up like values. Because like this team here that has McBride, Hawkinson, and Evan Ingram, the league analyzer is giving them way too much credit because they don't necessarily. Harvick says it's a wide receiver tight end flex. Yeah, so we are doing exactly what we want. I don't want to roster a tight end in that format. I think your team's probably better than a lot of these other ones, like the sorry not sorry, it's too late, the Globo Gym. I think these teams are boosting their value in the league analyzer with these random tight ends. I think in reality, if we took that out, we would probably be the 3rd or 4th highest team in this league. You still are like, Kelsey's not number 1. This is still probably the top team. Can you also let me know what the hell is going on with quarterbacks? Can you start 2 QBs in this league? Why are we rostering Mac Jones? And why did that other team I just pulled up have 4 quarterbacks? Hey, let's go, baby. Go see you later. Yeah, let me know. Is this a super flex league? Because if not, okay, Harvick says, yeah, it's a 2 QB. Okay, then never mind. Our team's worse than I thought. If this is a 2 quarterback format, we have CJ Stroud QB1, Bryce Young QB2, and then Mac Jones as the bye week fill-in in the short term. Not a super exciting situation. We have no starting quarterbacks on the waiver wire. Can you let me know your full starting lineup requirements? Running back, we have an anchor RB1 with Derrick Henry. We have a great running back 2 with Kyron Williams. Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt, Trey Benson, great RB3, RB4 combo. Premium handcuffs with Ray Davis and Braylon Allen. Going over to receiver, we have Nico Collins. We have Marvin Harrison. We have Myers. We have Downs. We have Kupp. We have Coker. Looking at the waiver wire pivots, I would rather have Bateman or Luther Burden over Jalen Coker. If Jalen Coker is actually on your roster, if he's on your IR, then obviously ignore me. Lucas, right now my questions are turned off on the site just because we are catching up on them. I would recommend, I'm going to live stream every single day, obviously, so you have an opportunity to get your questions in at some point. If you wanted to like make sure like, hey, I have a really important question I need to ask. If you hit the bell next to the subscribe button, YouTube will tell you when we go live. And for the first hour of every live stream that I do, we will have the questions turned on. So you can always get the questions in at the beginning of the stream. So obviously, I'm sure most of y'all are subscribed, but make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button if you want us to know when we go live. Harvick says QB, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 2 flex, and then a super flex effectively. So it's a league where we can start 4 wide receivers weekly and 2 QB. So I don't care about the running back depth as much. So our lineup is CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, Nico Collins, Marvin Harrison, Jacoby Myers, Josh Downs, or Jacoby Myers, Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt. So our depth is very questionable. I hate to say this, but I think you may need to sell one of your studs. I don't think your team is that good, to be completely honest with you. The depth matters in your format. The quarterback position really matters in your format. And we don't have, like, we have weak skill position players in our starting lineup, while at the same time, we have one of the weakest QB rooms in this league. The only team with the weaker quarterback room than us is this team with like Love and Flacco. And if we were just going through this and saying like, oh, okay, well, the way out of this, if we wanted to try to find an upgrade at quarterback and an upgrade at another skill positional depth piece, is if we're selling a stud and our studs are Derrick Henry and Nico Collins on this team, who are we going to be able to get some real value from? The guy that just face planted and did nothing week 1, or the player that looked like the number 1 overall option in fantasy on prime time in a game that everybody watched that will probably be one of the best games of the year? I would assume that you're going to get enough value from Derrick Henry to possibly turn this team around. My thing that I would look to do with this roster, and it is extremely painful to say this, but this team at the top is crushing. This team at the top is incredible. This is the best team in your league, in my opinion. Is I think you need to pivot down from Derrick Henry, and we need to try to get multiple starters from them. I think if you wanted to trade, like, and of course it's going to depend. We're going to have to approach a bunch of other people because we're going to try to get the highest price point we possibly can for Henry. If we want to try to send them Derrick Henry, Mac Jones, and in return get back like Bo Nix, Chase Brown, and Jamison Williams. Jamison hits your flex immediately. The Bo Nix is in your starting lineup every week in your super flex spot, or honestly, he would be your QB1. And the down tier to Chase Brown may not be that devastating. There's a good chance that they laugh at you for trying it. I know you said we can't trade with that team. This team doesn't have a quarterback for us. This team is Dak, Geno, Stafford. They don't really have enough quarterback value. This team has Hurts and Ward. They don't. This team is 3 QBs. They have Goff. Goff could be a weekly starter for us. Could we trade Derrick Henry, Mac Jones for Goff, Bucky, and Keon Coleman? I'm sitting that offer out there. This team has Fields. Can we send Henry for Fields, Connor, and Judy? I think you have to sell Derrick. That's the only path I see, because again, our flexes are weak and our quarterback position's one of the worst in the league. I think you need to upgrade at quarterback here in this super flex format. And I think we need to get a running back in return if we're moving off Derrick Henry and potentially another flex as well. But obviously do not sell Derrick Henry at a discount. If we are selling him, we need to be charging a massive premium to our league mates with what he just did week 1 and with how exciting he looks. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. Let's move this over to our next question. This one's going to be from Fabian. It says, need some help in the short term here. My bench is cooked for the first few weeks of the season at least. So this is Slab Legends. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So the reality is your bench doesn't matter much. Our starting lineups, Mahomes at quarterback, Warren at tight end. We need a total of 5 running backs and receivers. We start HN, Kyron, Neighbors, Marv, and Olave. We're fine. In terms of waiver wire pivots to make with the Jawan Jennings injury, I wouldn't fault you for dropping Jennings for Jaden Reed to see what happens with Jaden Reed tonight. And beyond that, it's going to be very boring. But the thing that you're going to have to do with this team is you're just going to have to be patient and wait for us to get Judkins, wait for us to get Rice, and wait for us to get Jennings back in. Now, once that happens, I think you'll have a lot of flexibility. It's a league in which you only got to start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. So you can go through, and at one point you should be able to try to sell Marvin Harrison and maybe package him with Judkins to go get a great running back 3 for the flex once we have Rashee Rice back in. Or you can try to go through and sell like Marv and Mahomes to get to a top 4 quarterback. But again, the fact of the matter is we're not going to be wanting to do that until we end up getting Rashee Rice back into this lineup. We don't want to do that until we get Judkins back. We don't want to do that until we get Jennings back. And honestly, I would probably go ahead and anyway, I would drop Jennings and I'd pick up Jaden Reed. But I think that's all I got for you. I really appreciate you, my friend. Really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. But the fact of the matter is I think you're just going to have to be patient with this team. I don't think there's much to do. But I think we are going to call it here for this live stream. I want to get set up and get ready to watch the game. And also we're going to do a Flock League call in about 15 minutes. I got to be ready for. But real quick, Sidekick says full BBR. I'm starting London, Devonta Smith. Flex options are Dobbs, Golden, and Austin. Do I keep Calvin Austin and Romeo Dobbs on the roster? I would cut Calvin Austin realistically, and I would flex Matthew Golden. I am not excited to play Golden, but I think you do over those names. And Todd says, should I start JCM over Olave and Pearsall for my flex? No. I'd go with Ricky Pearsall, Olave, and then JCM. Again, if you look at the Underdog Pick'ems for today, this is the projection that you have for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Higher, lower, 38.5 rushing yards. Higher, lower, 2.5 receiving yards. Higher, lower, 8.05 fantasy points. This is not somebody that you can get in your starting lineup. In my opinion, the expectations need to be that he's on your bench. He's exciting in the long term. But in the short term, I don't know if you can trust him. But yeah, just in case you didn't see, I know you're probably not going to watch this during the game. Maybe you want to watch it at half. But we did just drop a new Flock League episode if anybody was interested. I traded away Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Just search Flock League on YouTube and you'll see it pops up. Mason trades Bill Krosky-Merritt, and we'll see exactly how bad of a trade that was in about 5 minutes or maybe 30 minutes. And we'll open up questions again tomorrow. And again, I'm going to be live streaming answering fantasy football questions every single day until Christmas. We're going to be giving away a ton of free questions in every single live stream, and the questions will always be open for the beginning of our streams at the very minimum. So if you hit the bell next to the subscribe button, YouTube will tell you when we go live, and you should be able to come in and get your questions in. But I really appreciate y'all and really hope I get to see you out with the live stream after the game tonight.